only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer! Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters. We're going to bring you the news and reviews of your favorite brews. My name is Dan Baker, joined as usual by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and of course the demented and fermented,
Wayne Baker.
struggling with a cork on a bottle. I was really hoping that you would have had it in time for the intro music and just would have popped it into the mic. Yeah. But yeah, that's other good. Good job, Steph.
Yeah, we corked those ourselves.
Well, that should be a hint as to what is coming. We'll reveal it in just a little bit. This is a very special episode. This is number
It's the
200th
episode. So,
yeah.
what do you think it would be like if we went back in time to our 100th episode? We did a live episode at Canal Street, and it was a huge party, and there was a bunch of people there, and it was like a raucous evening.
That was
and
so much fun.
We planned for it for months ahead, and Steph almost
Wait,
went
we
crazy.
did? We planned for it?
Steph planned for it a month ahead. If we went back in time and
I
said
planned for that event like 8 months, just so you know.
guess what? What's going to be going on when the 200th
Yeah,
episode
right.
comes around? Oh, shit.
No!
I broke the cork in half.
Dumbass.
There's a fancy corkscrew around
Yeah.
here somewhere.
I know exactly where it is.
I was hoping that we would have been able to do something in person at the very least, or have some other people around. Not quite the extravaganza that the 100th episode was, but obviously things are strange and we can't, and we're still doing these remotely, and it's not quite safe to be around people yet. But we are going to go a little celebratory, if you will, for this episode, because, as we've mentioned for countless episodes, I'm sure somebody can count, and I just don't feel like doing it right now, about Black is Beautiful, and how there are so many breweries in our geographic area that are participating, which is fantastic. But we didn't exactly know what to do with all the beers we had, besides obviously drink them. We're going to drink them, but we didn't know how we were going to talk about it. And, well, the idea came up that for the 200th episode, since we can't do a giant extravaganza, fuck it, we're just going to drink them all on one episode. Or at least taste them all in one episode, because we have like 16 beers here. Steph has a bunch too.
Yeah, and I was going through and jotting down the ones that we have and just making a note, because some of them are different. They do stray from the original recipe, but the 90% of them are still 10 to 11% imperial stouts.
Yeah. So this is going to be an interesting night. Well, if you want to follow along with some of these shenanigans, remember Twitter and Instagram, you can follow at BeerBusters. Facebook, we are BeerBusters Podcast. There's BeerBustersPodcast.com. And there's Patreon.com/BeerBusters, where you get the coveted bonus content. You're one of the cool kids who gets to click through to last call, and you get the extra feed on the Patreon. It's stuff that only you will see as a patron. Outtakes at some point whenever I am able to do them again. And should we ever be allowed around people and we have a recording in the Beer Busters podcast basement, you can get an invite to that recording. Obviously, you still have to be in our geographic area, so that is one requirement for that. But all the other stuff you can get from anywhere in the world.
So the cork that I was struggling with moments ago is from Steph and our friend and patron Ron's homebrew version of Black is Beautiful, in a nice, lovely cork and cage that looked wonderful, but foiled my feeble attempts at accessing the beer. Finally got to it. Not quite as bad as being Stemlered, but just had my first sip. It is delicious.
Oh,
Steph,
yeah.
why don't you tell us a little bit about this beer and making it and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so we used the homebrew recipe that is posted on blackisbeautiful.beer. So it ended up being 9.84% ABV, which we were really proud of. Ron and I have brewed together many, many times over the last 7-8 years, and this was probably the closest we've ever gotten as far as efficiency goes. But it has a shit ton of pale malts. There's oats, chocolate malt, barley, caramel malt, roasted barley, chocolate rye, black patent malt. And then, of course, there's some corn sugar added in there to boost the ABV. And we use Columbus and Cascade hops. And then we just fermented it with love. And
Is that a strain of yeast?
and a strain of yeast, which the recipe
Love.
calls for California ale. And honestly, I don't remember if that's what we used or not. Probably. I don't remember what we used. I'd have to ask Ron. Anyway, but then we decided that we wanted to bottle it, which for anybody that homebrews knows what a pain in the ass that was. But I felt it was a beer that deserved that effort. And then Ron had the idea to cork and cage it, which I've actually never corked and caged bottles before. So it was kind of fun doing that for the first time. And I'm really fucking proud of this beer. Like I've been keeping a running list. I've officially had 20 different Black is Beautifuls so far. Now that number will greatly increase after tonight's episode. And the one that we brewed is seriously one of my favorites. I mean, and there are some amazing ones out there, but I am really, really proud of this beer, and I think it's super tasty. So I keep sending it to people and sharing it with people, and I just want everybody that I care about and I drink with, and I can possibly get a bottle to enjoy it and have it. And it is on Untapped, so you guys can check it in.
Awesome. It's really good. I really like it too. It's definitely right up there, shoulder to shoulder with all the other ones that we've had. So you guys pretty much followed the recipe. You guys didn't like try to do any kind of crazy twist or anything, just straightforward.
Correct.
With what
we have talked about brewing it again. So we'll see if we stick with the same thing or change it up.
I mean, but honestly, if you're going to throw anything in a beer, it's probably going to be peppers and not much else. So look for the spicy version. I mean,
I do consider myself the assistant brewer in this operation because we do brew at Ron's house, and he's the one that sits at the computer, and the head brewer is the one that sits at the computer, and the assistant brewer is the one that does all the work.
Looks
so
everything around,
that's kind of how it goes when I brew with Ron. No, I'm kidding. It's a fun time, but I don't know. I talked about taking a bottle and maybe running it through the good old Randall Jr. and putting some peppers in there. That could be kind of fun. I did have Mount Gretna's version, and they ran it through a Randall with cinnamon and cayenne peppers.
Ooh. Oh, nice.
And made me think about some fun things that I might want to do if there's maybe open a big bottle one night and run it through a couple different things and have fun with it. That's the fun of brewing a beer to style, though, is you can do all those crazy fun things with it after the fact, especially when you're a home brewer.
And that's kind of the sort of the thing that, like, I think that kind of was like falling out of style, like doing Firkins and Randalls in general. I mean, amongst homebrewers, it's always been popular, but now with like COVID and like nobody can hang out anywhere, you don't really get to have that experience like out somewhere where like there's a different Firkin or they're running, trying different things. But you're right, having a straightforward base beer, you can have a lot of fun with that kind of stuff. So that's cool.
So if there's any homebrewers out there, check out the recipe. It was a lot of fun to brew. We did have to go old school mash tun because of how much grain there was. So we used the old school cooler. It wouldn't fit in the mash tun that is with his really bougie system. But we had a great time brewing it, and it was definitely worth the effort. And the recipe is really great. It's a fantastic product. So since you guys are drinking that, and I've had it so many times, I pulled out one that you don't have yet. But I have cans for you that I will get to you next time that we meet in a parking lot or something. We are drinking the Black is Beautiful from Bon and Country Club, which we talked about on our last Black is Beautiful episode, that Bon Brewing and the soon-to-be opened Country Club Brewing brewed together. Jesus, I'm only on my first beer and already I can't talk. This one is a 10% imperial stout brewed with coconut and vanilla and then double dry hopped and laid to mellow briefly in bourbon and rum barrels. It was brewed in collaboration and cooperation worldwide, of course, with Weathered Souls Brewing. And also here locally, they said with Buds and Suds Country Club Brewing. And the proceeds from this beer go to Black-owned businesses in the Commonwealth, which we now know includes Country Club Brewing and Harris Family Brewing, which Sam alluded to, but didn't actually come out and say when we had him on the show a few episodes ago.
Spoiler alert. So, when you listen to that interview, we did know at the time.
Yeah.
He just didn't want to say it on the podcast.
Knew, but
he told us, though.
It was borderline breaking news that he just didn't want to break yet.
Yeah, but it's really cool and a really unique spin on the whole like charitable side of the collaboration to give it not only to black businesses, local black businesses, but also ones that he is directly involved with and has a relationship with that are starting out. So that's cool.
But the coconut, I mean, they must have made love to this coconut because it is just all in the right places in this beer. You pour it, the aroma of the coconut is just so pleasant and comforting, and just like it's giving you a hug. And then the flavor, it's the coconut is very there, but it doesn't overwhelm the rest of the beer. And I think the vanilla was a nice touch. It kind of like marries the roastiness of and the chocolatiness of the malts with the coconut. It kind of brings it all together. It's a really nice take on the beer. So I'm very happy that it was released so that we could drink it in this episode, because we just picked it up 2 days ago. Wednesday we picked it up as of recording. So and just thanks to Sam again. Of course, Sam was there, and he is definitely one of the most gracious brewery owners, and always takes the time to chat with us and share beers, and just a really, really cool guy.
Yes, definitely. So over the past couple of episodes, we've made a point to talk about some things that are bigger than a southeastern Pennsylvania craft beer and central Pennsylvania craft beer podcast. And we've made a point to go out and get as many beers as the Black is Beautiful collaborations we could. And there's just so many that are around. It's over 1,000 breweries, and as we'll get into, a distillery is part of it too. And in that light, we have two guys joining us from a brewery and from a distillery in Frederick, Maryland. We have joining us from Clintock Distilling, we have Braden Bumpers, and from Idiom Brewing, we have Mike Clements. Gentlemen, how are you? And thank you for joining us.
Hey guys, how's everybody?
Fantastic.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Braden, I was saying to you before we'd started, because you joined the Zoom call before Mike was able to, you have a whiskey that's inspired by it, and we'll go into the details of it, but the bottle of this thing has been taunting me nonstop since Steph gave it to us like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, and I'm so glad that we finally get to crack this thing open and drink it.
Because you're going to be talking for another couple of seconds.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and pour a little bit right now.
Go ahead and pour.
We're getting right into
I want
it.
to try. I'm so excited to try this.
I am too. So obviously, as there are lots of bigger conversations that are happening, Black is Beautiful project is something that involves breweries and your distillery to put out these libations to benefit charities that will basically further the conversation a little bit more. Now, we'll start, I guess, with the beer and then go into the whiskey, even though we have the whiskey poured, because I'm assuming...
Is that the proper tasting order? Should we taste the beer and then the whiskey? Does that make sense?
I would suggest it. Otherwise, the whiskey will probably mask a little bit of flavor from the beer.
Man, we were jumping the gun.
I jumped the gun. I'm sorry. All right.
We're not used to doing beer and spirits at the same time.
We
Last time you did that on the show.
Well, you're still drinking, so it's not wrong either way.
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
Absolutely.
You'll taste everything going back and forth.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
Thank you for that. And I know there's so many things that we should really discuss about this, but I'm assuming since we should drink the beer first, that we should maybe discuss the beer first, because I'm guessing that was the first one to come to light out of this.
Yeah, we can go back through how this all started with Weathered Souls and the whole George Floyd conversation and discussion throughout the country, and we were looking for a way to kind of make our voice heard as a brewery, and there was a lot of people asking questions of businesses, whether they stood against, all the pieces of the puzzle, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all these things that have happened over the last few years that have affected people of color. And, we wanted to make sure before we put out a statement, that we had a cohesive approach on what we were doing. A lot of businesses were reactive. A lot of businesses were proactive as well. But we wanted to make sure that we were doing something that actually meant something, not just saying, Blackout Tuesday, or not just, saying we stand with Black Lives Matter, but actually putting our money where our mouth was. We had heard about the program from some friends of ours who work with Weathered Souls and do some of their artwork and things of that nature, reached out to us and said, hey, what are you guys doing? Are you interested in participating? And as soon as we heard about it, we reached out to Weathered Souls via their Instagram, via their Facebook, via the website. We registered or attempted to open the conversation with them and register with them to start this project. Within I believe it was like 24 hours. We got all the information we needed from them. What, there were still some things in flux, what the label was looking like, what the recipe was going to look like, what, they were looking for as far as donations, what they were looking for as far as advertisement and things of that nature. So while there was, the approach was there were still a lot of things in flux with how we were going to move forward with the conversation from our end. So we reached out, we registered, we got the recipe from them. We brewed it within 2 days. We have a great amount of flexibility as a brewery in Frederick. We're a small brewery. We have a lot of fermenters, so we have the ability to throw things into the mix pretty quickly. So we started brewing the beer within a couple days. And we did some modifications to the base recipe. They were looking for a little bit more of a roasty profile. We were looking more for a chocolate profile, which is kind of in our wheelhouse as far as stouts go. So we had the beer in the fermenter for probably 3 or 4 days when Braden contacted me and said, "Hey, Mike, we're looking at getting involved with this. We've reached out to Marcus from Weathered Souls, and he's excited to see some collaboration within the industries to kind of promote this idea as well." And I immediately told Braden, we could easily brew a beer specific for you, but why not do something more? Why not, take what we were already working on as our approach and make it a collaboration within a collaboration to show just what the industries can do when we work together. And, we had similar approaches for what we wanted to do with the money. I know Braden, when we were first talking about it, wanted to donate to the ACLU. That's exactly what we wanted to do. That's what we had already announced we were going to do. And with the idea of what we wanted to do with the beer and the flavor profile we were shooting for, it fell in line with what Braden wanted to do on the distillation side. And so, I'll leave it to Braden to talk more about that right now, but that's kind of where the idea came from. And that's kind of how, the collaboration within the collaboration occurred. And Braden will speak to this, and he had before this podcast started, but, Braden and I have been working together since we opened. He's sent us barrels, his rye, his bourbon. We have an Oro vodka barrel that we're currently aging a key lime Goza in.
Ooh.
We've been doing a lot of unique flavor profiles with McClintock barrels, and we see the value in collaborating within Frederick, but also between industries. And it's something that we cherish. We enjoy the working relationship we have with McClintock. And, it's just something to show that there's always something we can do more.
Yeah, I like
that.
I
want to pause for a minute before we talk too further. I more than have sipped it, but we've had many of these beers, and they're all really great, which first of all, I think is a great nod to the industry that not only are people jumping onto this project and being a part of it, but they're also creating spectacular beers in response to it. And I think that's fantastic. This is a delicious imperial stout. The chocolatey notes are great. And I love how they're dark, bitter chocolate notes, and you still get the roasty astringent taste and hints from the dark malts as well. It's a really delicious beer. So I'm even more excited to try the Spirit now. But it's quite delicious. Have you guys gotten to taste it?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I've had enough.
I'm sure you tasted a lot of it. I've been sipping on it a little bit here.
Yeah.
What struck me was the chocolatey character, as you mentioned. But it's very silky in the mouthfeel. It's that's really nice. It's not thin and watery.
Yeah.
And I do like, so the original recipe, that was put out there to say you could tweak however you want, and a lot of places have, was shot for about around 11%. Now, I see on your Crowley yours is at 9, which I appreciate that because we have a lot of these Black is Beautiful beers to get through over the next 2 weeks. And so having a couple lower alcohol versions in there is kind of nice.
Yes. So let me just kind of give you an idea of what we did to tweak the recipe versus what was provided by Weathered Souls. So Weathered Souls provided a recipe that was, it was shooting for a very dark beer, very bitter, very much the coffee, like strong coffee notes. Some of that acrid profile that you see in a lot of imperial stouts, like Russian imperial stouts. And we took it and we really twisted it. And it's kind of what we do as a brewery. We twist recipes all the time. We try new things. We push boundaries. So we took their recipe, and their recipe was extremely heavy on black malt, which is a roasted malt, very roasty flavor, acrid flavors, acidic. And then we flipped it with their chocolate malt. So the chocolate malt was super low profile within their recipe. The black malt was super high profile. So we completely flipped the two. We went super high on the chocolate and very low on the black malt, just to give it enough coffee and enough roasty flavor to support the beer. And then we added a ton of naked oats, which is a malted oat rather than a flaked oat, kind of like oatmeal, which is pretty predominant in oatmeal stouts. Flaked oats is something that is built into a lot of stout recipes, and was in this one. But we decided to switch that a little bit to, instead of giving that beer a creamy flavor, giving it more of a silky flavor. And there's a big difference between the two. Mm-hmm. So we went with the silky notes with the chocolate and the slight coffee notes to kind of give it that rich, milky, dark chocolate coffee flavor. And that's kind of where we went with the recipe. And then McClintock took it from there.
Yeah, I'm very anxious to talk about the whiskey aspect of it, because as a beer podcast, I don't get to talk about whiskey a lot outside of my group of a few friends that like it. So yes, Braden, let's start talking about the whiskey.
Sure.
So
does this mean I could taste it now? Because I really want to taste it. Just a tiny little bit.
Okay, we're gonna take a sip and then we'll talk about the whiskey.
Cool. I'm interested to see how you guys like it, because it's a kind of off the wall spirit, but we were really happy with the way it turned out.
I first of all, I'm gonna say I'm not a huge whiskey drinker, and a lot of times I sit down to drink whiskey. I'm the kind of, like, I get stuck on that punch, that alcohol punch at the front end that you kind of have to get past, and I feel this is 40% alcohol, so it's not hugely boozy as far as spirits go, but it's not super.
It's really not, and part of me thinks that's because we've already had something that, as far as beer goes, has a little more alcohol to it.
Yeah.
I really, 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 really like this.
That's really nice.
So Mike had said that you got a hold of them early on to partner up. Now, had you known that they were going to do this over at Idiom, or did you just happen to call and say, I want to do something? Do you want to do it, or did you know he was already doing it? How'd that start?
So we had been following the program, which is really cool. It's something the beer industry has going that's really awesome, that I hope the spirits kind of gets in this direction of these larger, collaborative, mission-oriented recipes that are going around. I saw it the first time with I think it's the Sierra Nevada Fire beer. I don't remember what that was called. But I just think it's super cool, and it's a great way to unite people in the industry from all around the country.
Yeah.
This one I particularly liked because Marcus really kind of made it approachable for everybody, and that you can change the recipe. He really encouraged to find like a local an organization you can work with that impacts your own backyard, which I love. It's not just raising money for one, giant organization. It's making an impact on a smaller scale. And then we saw Mike was doing it, and I called him to pitch him the idea, because we had been talking about doing it, but a lot of the ingredients and the brewing process is stuff that we don't normally do with our equipment. We're more wheat, rye, and corn based for our whiskeys, and so we don't have a lot of those. So, like Mike said, we do a lot of work with him already. He's about 500 yards away from the distillery, so it's easy enough I was like, hey, if you got a tote, fill us up a tote, and we can distill it into a whiskey. And
If you got
really
a tote, we can distill it. I love it.
If you can fill whatever you got, fill it up. We can throw it in the still. You know, we pride ourselves on if whatever it is, if you can ferment it and distill it, we have tried it or will try it. So this one was a lot of fun, and I'm personally much more of like a stout, darker beer, porter type beer drinker. And I thought this one was going to distill beautifully, and Mike did a great job. It's clean ferment. It distilled, like you said, it's very soft. It's very clean, and a lot of that was the really tight fermentation that was done. And this is really where we knew we wanted to distill it, but we wanted to make a spirit that kind of captured the essence and the flavor of the recipe of the Black is Beautiful. So we came up with using the cacao nibs to kind of bring out some of those nice, like robust, rich, more like chocolatey espresso notes. So after we distilled it, we blended it, we macerated on and off for 2 weeks. We were really nervous because it was a one try. It was like, we got to get this right the first time. So we put it in for 2 hours, take it out, taste it, let it fixate for a day, put it in for another 3 hours, and just work our way. And then the final product was kind of the balance we liked, where the chocolate is there and it's very present, but you still get like the body and the character and the flavor of the Black is Beautiful beer as the backbone of the spirit. So it was really fun, and we can talk about this later in the episode, but I'm excited about the second version of this that we have in the pipeline.
Yeah,
Nice.
I was going to ask about that. Before we get into that, though, I have a question that seems to be we were debating before you guys were able to join the call what the right way to drink it was, or how we should drink it. Now, this is going to be a twofold question, but we're going to start with, what is the distiller recommended way to enjoy your Black is Beautiful whiskey?
So this partially goes to me being a distiller for a long time, and partially goes to me being a just awful bartender, but neat or on the rocks is usually how I preview almost all of our spirits. This one is clean enough, like you guys are trying, like just like, you know, a finger or two after dinner. It's like a really nice, like dessert sipping spirit. Some of our more elevated bartenders that work here have come up with some really good, like in an old fashioned, using it instead of the simple syrup, with like especially like a barrel proof or like very over oaked bourbon, works really well. And obviously any kind of coffee cocktail you can come up with, really, really good.
I hadn't thought of the old fashioned that you. I have orange peels in my fridge that I keep around specifically to make old fashions.
Yeah,
This is going to be a dangerous night.
You
But
did
you're
it?
still in your seat. You're not getting the orange peel yet. What are you doing?
Yeah, right.
Here's
Well,
the-
see, we've got so much left.
I know,
we
I
got a
know.
long way to go to get through this
and
bottle.
I know we've so much more drinking to do tonight.
I've put mine over ice. One, because I prefer it as like not being a heavy bourbon drinker. I like how the ice cuts it and it kind of like mellows as you drink it. But two, because Dan has this really cool ice maker that makes these ice spheres, and I just wanted to put that in my glass.
Credit goes to you. 'Cause
I
that was
did
a,
get it
that was
for
a
him as a
birthday
gift.
gift.
It was
so
a
thank
gift,
you.
but,
It's a good birthday gift.
It
Yeah.
is.
In fact, the
It's
glasses
way
were a
to drink
gift, too.
whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the second part of that question was going to be, so you had your preferred way of saying this is how you should have this. Do you normally then drink yours neat, or do you go on the rocks? How do you normally do it?
I'm usually whiskey and gin. I usually have 1 cube of ice, just to open it up a little bit. This is always in our industry a hotly debated topic. My background's in science, so science is on my side. A little bit of water expresses a lot of the hydrophobic elements, brings them to the front. It's better aromatics, it's better tasting. Sometimes with like some really good expensive stuff, I'll just do like a few milliliters just of filtered water instead of ice. But I like most of my stuff just with cube ice.
Yeah. That's
I'm
normally-
going to step in here and
Yes,
say
please.
my preferred method is always clean, 100%.
Oh,
interesting. All right. And
No,
here's,
no filter, no water, no ice. I like to, straight up, and that's the best. As the cocktail, as the drink itself starts to warm, and as it starts to open up, you're going to get the most flavor. It's a hard sell for a lot of people because when you first take that first sip after pouring it, It's definitely a rough ride.
Yeah.
However, as it warms up and as it opens up with oxygen, it allows the drink to shine and to show all of its true character.
I like that
that's just my preference.
I like that you're on opposite sides of this, and I'm kind of betting that the plot twist is that Braden puts ice in his beer.
I'm betting the plot twist is that Braden's a distiller and I'm a brewer, and at the end of the day, not saying that neither one of us or either of us work harder than the other, but at the end of the day, after carrying sacks and sacks of grain into a mash tun, I'm pretty tired. And I'd like to have as much alcohol in as small amount of time as possible.
Yeah, the quickest way to get it in the liver is the better.
Nice.
I consume my alcohol way too quickly, so I feel like if I put some ice in it, it dilutes it, so I don't get as drunk as fast. But that's probably.
I mean, it's the same amount of alcohol that you're.
Everyone has a preferred method. I mean, most people in the world really will not drink alcohol straight or even. On the rocks or even with filtered water. Most people just want to have a mixed drink.
Yeah.
Most people want to have it with something sweet or something spicy or some other kind of, cut, as most would say, to kind of give them the flavor profile they're really looking for. It's all about preference. I mean, it's why there's so many different styles of beer. That's why there's so many different styles of distilled spirits. There's something for everybody.
Now, Mike, you were saying earlier, I think before we were officially rolling, about that you've used this whiskey to make some cocktails at home, and you were talking about an Irish coffee inspired cocktail. I kind of want to know more about that because that sounds amazing.
So hot coffee, a little bit of cream, and this whiskey is amazing. The chocolate notes come through awesome. It allows it to breathe a little bit. You get some of the aromatics of like a traditional Irish whiskey. But you also get the flavor components of this particular spirit. And it's such a great combination. As Braden mentioned, any kind of cocktail that would contain coffee is going to be amazing for this spirit.
Very cool. I have a technical question I wanted to ask. As far as distilling a whiskey from a beer, how is that different than your normal whiskey production process? I know it's been done. I don't know if I've had any before. I feel like I must have.
Probably.
It's not unheard of. I know it's a thing people do, but I don't know a lot about distilling to begin with, but I don't know how that differs in your process if there's already alcohol in it going in and like how that changes the process.
Yeah, so it's there's a lot of overlap, in terms of like if you looked at a beer under a microscope and you looked at a whiskey mash under a microscope, 75% of the elements are pretty much the same. The big difference, obviously, is hops. We don't put any hops in a whiskey mash, which we've distilled some triple IPA hop bomb stuff. And I thought it would be one thing distilled into a very different thing that ended up going right down the trench drain. So hops are definitely much more tricky to work with than whiskey. I usually compare them. We do gin here as well. Hops are much closer related to juniper on the gin side of things than like what we would put in the whiskey. And then the other difference, this is just our what we do, but we keep the grain in the whole way through. So whereas brewers are filtering, watering out the grain particulate matter, we ferment ours on the grain. So when we're done with distillate, our leftovers look more like a oatmeal than a beer, if you will. So, and we use, this is for American whiskeys, we're using unmalted grains versus most beers are malted barley. But if you're drinking Irish or Scotch whiskey, that's 100% malted barley. So you're pretty close to beer with kind of some of those old world whiskeys.
Which is why this one goes a little bit more in line with an Irish whiskey for coffee drinks and things of that nature, because it follows the same kind of fermentation profile.
Yeah, and we distilled it like a traditional Irish whiskey, so it's triple distilled. So that's why it's pretty smooth on the back end. You don't get that punch in the back of the throat like you can get, especially with unaged whiskeys. Can be a little rough around the edges. But we wanted to distill on the cleaner side since this was going to be and
a stout's a really good playing profile for distillation, because there's very little hop profile, as he mentioned. Very little hop matter, very little hop oil. Alpha acids are really low, beta acids are really low, which contribute the bitterness side to beer. And distillation is just kind of amplifying those notes as it's being distilled. So, with this kind of beer with a very low bitterness level, you're actually, helping to build a distillable profile for a spirit. So it was a perfect match, really.
Very cool.
Now, this whiskey was not barrel aged, correct? But you do have plans to do a barrel aged version as well.
Yes, I'll let Mike take the lead on this. This is, I think, our first public announcement of this one. But it's a really cool project.
Exclusive.
Yeah. So I think it was 4 or 5 days ago I reached out to you, Brady.
Yeah, it's very new.
We typically use McClintock barrels and other distilleries as well. Sagamore, Jim Beam, Booker's barrels, those types of things. A lot of maple syrup barrels, some other gin barrels and tequila barrels and things of that nature. But the predominant barrels we've been getting over our since the day we opened have been from McClintock, and we've built a great relationship with these guys. And we constantly send customers to each other and try to build each other's customer base and just constantly push and elevate each other. And it's a great relationship. It's been something that's been a welcomed relationship here in Frederick, Maryland. So after doing this and getting Black is Beautiful out in both a beer version and a distilled version, because we did it once and we sent it to McClintock, and then we decided, we're going to do this again, and we're going to sell it ourselves, and we're going to basically double the amount of money we're sending to the ACLU. A couple days ago, I just had a bright idea, and I reached out to Marcus from Weathered Souls and talked to him a little bit about it. And I was like, listen, I know there aren't very many distilleries. I think right now it's really only McClintock. I think a couple others are looking at getting involved. There's not very many distilleries who are involved in this. And, it's a ton of breweries, but pretty much everywhere there's breweries, there's distilleries. So let's talk about, let's bring an idea to this. And the idea is to revisit this conversation as much as we can. I reached out to them and said, hey, listen, I have an idea. We want to do this beer again. We want to do our version of this beer again, but this time we want to send it to McClintock and we want to put it in a barrel. And it's kind of a good thing because a 7-barrel batch of beer kind of translates to a single barrel of, a distilled spirit. So, I reached out to Braden and said, hey, Braden, let's do another 7-barrel batch of this and do a single barrel version of Black is Beautiful that we can release, in the future. We had originally talked about doing it for a year and seeing where it was, and if it was ready to release it in a year. If it was not ready, to release it in 2 years. Right. And just kind of, bring the conversation back to the forefront at a future time. It's unfortunate, but people tend to forget. And, sometimes you have to bring history back to people's eyes for them to remember. So the intent of this is to keep the conversation going until it's fixed. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, we all want to see this changed.
Right.
And, if we can continue to bring the conversation to the forefront until it is fixed, I'm going to do that. And it seems that Braden wants to do that. So that was kind of where we came up with the idea, and, that's what we're going to do.
I think that's a really great idea, and I haven't heard any other talk. I'm sure other people have thought about it, especially with the number of people that are just involved in the project of revisiting it and making it an annual or a regular or a seasonal type thing. And I think it's a great idea. And I think, a lot of these collaboration beers, we mentioned the Resilience IPA from Sierra Nevada, that was for a singular event that occurred and there, help was needed. This is obviously, like you said, something that a conversation that needs to keep happening and not something that you're going to, fix in a year or possibly even a generation. I mean, and these are issues that have been going on, much longer than we've been around drinking alcohol. All of us here at the table. So that's a really cool idea, and I think the idea of aging it in a barrel is perfect because you do it now, and then by the time it's ready, it's been a while, and it's like, hey, we're doing this again, and that's a really cool idea. And I'm hoping other people will pick up on something like that. That's cool.
So the flip side to that, which we haven't talked about yet, was that once it's done in the barrel, we would take it back again,
right,
and redo a beer that is aged in that same barrel again,
yep,
and re-release that at another time too.
Keep going and going. And the cool thing is you get a little piece moving forward of each one. So like 10 years from now, I mean, hopefully 10 years from now, the world's a better place. But if you're still making this line of products, there's a little bit of the one right now still in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, we thought that this was a great way to continue the conversation next year, the year after, and if it has to keep going, keep going.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we approach the idea. And, like I said, Braden and I are of like minds on these kind of things. So, it was just an evolution of where to go next.
I wanted to bring up earlier on, and you answered my question before I asked it, which I appreciate because it's less work for me to do. Was you the two of you guys, the brewery and the distillery, have collaborated before and have a working relationship? Just out of curiosity, what are some of the other projects you guys have done together in the past?
So, I mean, that's really on my end. I mean, we've taken a good bit of McClintock barrels and have re-released beers that have been aged in McClintock barrels. We've done a alt beer that was aged in a rye barrels, I should say. It was a 7-barrel batch of alt beer, which is a very it's kind of what they would consider a mixed profile for fermentation because it's an ale that's fermented like a lager. Mm-hmm. And it's a cleaner style for an ale, dark malty flavors, and we took that rye character from the barrel and added it to this profile of a malty lager-esque beer, which was well received. We've done a coffee stout in bourbon barrels from McClintock. We actually have a key lime goza that's aging in barrels that were tequila barrels originally, and then they were
I think it was Heaven Hill.
Yeah, Heaven Hill. Right.
Then it was Milagro Anejo. I think that was 7 to 9 year. And then we put a cucumber lime infused vodka in it for 2 years, and now Mike has it and has his tequila. That one is cool. Those barrels, if you look at them, you're like, wow, these barrels look like they're 20 years.
They show their age.
Yeah. They make me nervous every time I look at them. They're all like warped and bent, and I'm like, there's like,
they have
the vodka in there.
They have laugh lines,
yeah, that's it.
They have their age, and so as he said, they were Heaven Hills barrels, and then Anejo barrels, and then tequila barrel, and then cucumber lime vodka aged barrels, and now there is a key lime salted sour sitting inside of them. Wow. So all of those notes are now a part of that beer. And that's, those are unique combinations that you don't find in beer. And we do dark beer, we do light beer, we do IPAs, we do hazy styles, we do porter stouts. We're all over the place with beer. We just like to brew and really like to drink. But at the end of the day, we just like to try new things. And every time I, approach Braden about ideas, he's like, hey man, we have X, Y, and Z that'll work for you. Here's this, it might sound crazy, but we have these 3 or 4 barrels that we were using for this project that sound like they're perfectly in line with what you're trying to do. And it's just been a great relationship.
And you guys are super close to each other. You can literally walk from the brewery to the distillery.
Yeah, it's than
not that far.
2 or 3 minute walk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing.
If you get really drunk, you can just float down the creek from the distillery to the brewery.
Although I wouldn't do that.
Which direction, though? Which direction does the creek go? Do you have to start at the distillery and go to the brewery, or the other way around?
That's
You would
if you were
float,
floating, just the current of the creek.
But which
you would
way
float
does it
down
go?
creek from the distillery.
Okay, so
Down
you'd
to
have
the
to start at the
brewery. Okay.
distillery. Okay, all right.
Yeah, you know, I think there was a movie that they said something like they all float down here or something. Like
Yes.
I mean, this is the time of year to do that for sure.
Yeah.
I got to admit, it's no offense to your personal style of how you drink your whiskey, Mike, but the ice definitely brings out some other characteristics.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
I mean,
normally an
there's-
on the rocks kind of guy myself.
Absolutely. I mean, and just because that's my preference doesn't mean that's how I always drink every spirit. That's just my preference in drinking spirits. I always try different ways: crushed ice, cubed ice, large circles of ice, straight up mixed. I always try something new with it. I'm Braden can tell you. I think we picked up 3 or 4 bottles of this from Braden, maybe even more than that. It might have been 5 or 6. And I'm just trying different things with this spirit, and am constantly amazed at how well it turned out.
I think the best way to drink it is alongside the beer.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm taking
together.
a couple sips of the beer and then a sip of the whiskey and
Yeah.
then a couple sips of the beer. Like they really come, which it makes sense, obviously,
course.
but it's
You could
such
do-
a pleasant drinking experience.
You could do a Black is Beautiful bomb and drop it
One
in
in
and
the
then
other.
put it down real quick.
There you go.
I thought I
Like
was gonna
An
say
Irish
earlier.
whiskey. And slide it out. I like the way this guy
I
thinks.
mean, beer cocktails are kind of a trendy thing. I just don't know. I don't know. I know nothing about making a beer cocktail.
That would be like a matrix of a cocktail.
Yeah,
like
it's like,
putting
I don't-
the
Inception.
the spirit that was made. Yeah, an Inception. That's better. Putting the whiskey that was made from the beer inside of the beer, like
Yeah, it's a lot
makes your
going
head
on there.
spin.
planting a seed. You're planting a seed right now for everyone who has beer and the whiskey.
Yeah. Give it a try.
You're planting the seed, and that's the whole concept of Inception.
Yes. It does taste like, like I said a number of times, I'm not a whiskey expert, but it does taste like it would be versatile. Like it's not,
Yeah.
it's not like I've had what's the Dogfish Head? What's something archaeology?
Sonic Arcade. Yeah,
which
yeah.
is
Yeah.
Well, that's more of like
I was
that's
gonna
a
say,
cocktail in and
it's-
of itself.
Exactly, it's sort of a cocktail in a bottle. So approaching a whiskey that was made from a beer, I didn't really know what to expect, and I kind of that's the point I had in my mind as a reference. Like it's kind of like not just a whiskey, but I was wrong. It is, basically just a whiskey that carries over some of the character of the beer.
Yeah, it's almost like with the infusion and everything, it's almost like a specialty spirit kind of on its own. So
Yeah.
that's what we were describing to people as like, it is, it's like a whiskey. It has a lot of those characters, the body and the mouthfeel and a lot of the tasting notes. You'd get like a really dark malted whiskey. But with the chocolate and the way we distilled it, it's kind of something unique to itself, which is neat.
About 6 or 7 years ago during Philly Beer Week, honestly, one of the most memorable tasting moments of my life, Teresa's in Wayne, on the main line outside of Philly, they did a whiskey and beer pairing event, and the spirits, I don't know that they were all whiskeys, but there was a spirit and beer pairing, and all of the spirits were the distilled version of the beer. And Schlenkerla is one of my favorite beers ever. And I saw that they were doing this with Schlenkerla, and it still stands out to me today as one of the most amazing experiences ever, having Schlenkerla alongside with a spirit that was distilled Schlenkerla. And it was just like, at that moment, I didn't even realize that distilling beer was a thing, that was even humanly possible. And I haven't had anything like that since then. So, that's what motivated my trip down to Frederick the other week. Cause I'm like, I need to have this beer and this spirit, because it took me back to that moment sitting at that bar, having that. So, first hint, Mike, I think you need to brew a Rausch beer and let him distill it, because it would be amazing. But honestly, this is such a fabulous tasting experience.
I'm sorry. I'm not a smoked guy.
Oh, my heart.
I'm not
See,
a
I
Scot.
had hope, because you said you brewed an alt beer, and I'm like, this guy brews alt beers. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
And you tell me you don't like Rausch
I
beers.
do my fair share of Kolsch's and alt beers and weird fermentation, like common steam beers and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But smoked beers and smoked distilled spirits are not my thing at all. And I mean,
Oh,
I can be proven wrong.
there you go. Braden, proven
I
wrong.
will say though, if to prove you wrong, I wouldn't start with Schlenkerla.
No.
Yeah, that's right off the deep end.
That's at the deep
Yeah,
end.
my wife has proven me wrong many a time. But I've tried a fair number of Ross beers. I've tried a fair number of scotches, and it's just not. I can't get past the peaty notes. It's just something that to me is it puts me off. Now there are a lot of scotches that people try to pass off to me that are more tolerable than others, and if I can get past that initial hump, then maybe it'll take me to the next level. It's just like anybody else with IPAs, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, have extreme disdain for IPAs. But it's that one IPA that gets people past the hump, and then they're on to IPAs. It's the same thing with sour beer. It's the one sour that gets people past the hump, and then they're sour fans. So if you can find the Roush beer, if you can find the Scotch, I'm game.
Well, I've been a
Challenge
vegetarian
accepted.
for 15 years, so that's how I get my bacon is drinking smoked beer. So,
See, I get my bacon by eating bacon.
yeah. We know.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at your website, Mike, for Idiom, for all the different styles that you have. I really like the artwork on a lot of this stuff, especially the middle ground one where it's the Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but then like the Zen guy in the middle. That's
Zen
really
Master, yeah. We have quite a few artists who work on our labels. We always take a unique approach to every beer, whether it's within the same style or same vein of a style. We always look at, and you can kind of gather how we name our beers as well based upon the fact that our name as a brewery is Idiom. We kind of take the mentality of, all right, let's start with the beer. Let's start with what it's going to be, what it'll be named, and then build outside of that with our labeling and our concept for the beer itself. We have right now 4 different artists who work on labels, and we provide the artists with general ideas, and we provide those artists, we provide the label concepts to the artists who we think will fit the general vibe we're trying to go with each of the different beers. And it's worked out pretty well. We have a coffee stout, as I mentioned, that is coming out probably next week. It's actually a blend of barrels. It's a blend of McClintock barrels and Booker's barrels. So we have Booker's and McClintock barrels for a 7.2%, I believe. Actually, it was a 7.8%. It's now 8.2 based upon residual alcohol on the barrels. But it was, it's an 8.2% coffee stout that was pretty pronounced in the beginning, and now it has all these vanilla and caramel notes, and all that oak from the McClintock barrels, which were 30-gallon barrels, so they age faster because they're smaller barrels. But also these like super awesome toffee notes from the Booker's barrels because they're larger barrels, and they had a little bit more of that caramelization because they've aged for longer with the Booker's. So we have this blend of small barrels that have a concentrated flavor with larger barrels that have much more like toffee, soft vanilla notes and things of that nature, which are going to play with the base beer itself. And it's kind of it's almost like a mad science experiment all the time. You get to create these things and see what people's reaction to them and kind of gauge where people's palates are and where they're going over time. And it's super enjoyable to watch people enjoy something that you created. I'm sure Braden would say the same thing. It's probably the best joy in life is, being able to create something and people, enjoy it, like truly, get into it and, enjoy the process, enjoy, what it took to get from A to B.
I'm still surprised people listen to this podcast, and it's been 7 years.
Yeah, and Braden, I don't want to shortchange your artwork. I really like the old timey design.
It's very classy. I was just looking at
the
that
labels,
too,
especially the matchstick, the bourbon, because I really like the matchbox that's on there, and the guy that's got like the old timey mustache. Like you're in that right vibe for me. I really dig it.
We wanted to, we do kind of really traditional spirits, but with high quality ingredients and a very state of the art equipment that we're using for our actual distillation. So we wanted to kind of blend kind of the old world with the new world. And that gentleman on the matchstick is McClintock Young, who's our namesake for our company. And he was a inventor in Frederick. He still has like 150 patents on file. He's really incredible, but was kind of forgotten about. And my business partner grew up in his house here in town. We found a bunch of his original designs and patents and trademarks and stuff. One of which was the reason it's called the matchstick is he invented a matchstick making machine, and we found the deed of sale to the Diamond Match Company, who's still like the big match guys out there. They're still using his machinery. Cool. So yeah, he's really incredible, and we use like his aesthetic and his designs and patents are across all of our bottle designs. There's usually some hidden design or two of his out there, which is pretty neat. Really incredible guy, and that's what we wanted to do is, traditional pre-prohibition, non-genetically modified rye, wheat, and corn with cutting-edge distilling technology. Which I know this is a podcast and not visual medium, but I figured
we get to
since I
see
was
it.
here,
It looks really cool behind you. It really
Braden
does.
wins for the background.
This is just because I have no life and haven't left work yet.
Fair.
It's okay. I haven't left home in like 4 days, so we're good.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap this up, Wayne and Dan, I think you'll appreciate this. I couldn't go to Idiom and just get the Black is Beautiful beer, and they put my name on all the crowlers that I had ordered online.
Yeah, I see that on this
and,
one. I can't see what's it say.
It's kind of blown out. What is it?
Nutcase.
Nutcase. Yeah,
but then it has my
perfect.
name underneath.
It's spot on. It's
I
like
vote.
you've known
I
her your
vote. You
entire
change
life.
the name of the beer to that. Nutcase Stephanie Hefner. Just saying.
Man.
Which, by the way, that brown ale is really freaking delicious.
Thank you.
There's a brown ale.
Yeah, I know. Nobody makes really great brown ales to style anymore.
Although
And
I will say
it actually took me back. One of the first beers I ever homebrewed when I started homebrewing forever ago was Charlie Papazian's recipe for a brown ale. And it took me, it's one of my favorite beers I've ever brewed still to this day. And it took me back to that moment when I had brewed that beer. I'm like, this is just a really good quality brown ale, nut brown ale to style. So that was good. We need to go to Frederick.
I was
going to
say there's a trip in my near future to Frederick.
I did want to point out that we did have a really good brown lager just last episode.
Yeah. And we had a black IPA not that long ago. Like all these old styles coming back.
And that was another Black is Beautiful beer. So cool to see the project.
Trogs did a brown lager.
It's a cornbread inspired one.
Yeah, that's
with
the
Harris
one we
family.
had last episode.
Yeah.
We love Trogs and Harris family. We're very lucky up here in Pennsylvania. We have some, just like you guys have great breweries in Frederick, we have a few pretty good ones up here.
Yeah, one of my favorites is in Enola, Pizza Boy. So
Yes.
Oh wow, yeah, we know them very well.
We know the guy that does their labels very well.
We do.
Old friend of the show.
Yeah, years and years ago. Well, obviously, we want to thank you guys for coming on the show. If people out there want to learn more, the websites you need to know are idiombrewing.com and, of course, McClintockDistilling.com in Frederick, Maryland. I know I will find myself down there very shortly because there are so many things I want to try, and I need to get myself a bottle of, well, let's face it, everything. But the Matchstick is calling my name. The rye got a real good recommendation from Mike. There's a brown ale I got to get. There's a habanero beer I want to try, which, Steph, I know you probably had that when you were there.
Of course.
I would also recommend McClintock's gin.
I was just going to say, I actually do really like gin. So.
I love gin.
One, if not the best gin I've ever had in my life.
That's amazing.
Oh, Braden.
I'm not huge on gin myself. However, I'm really trying to come around to it, and I would love to try.
My wife is a gin drinker, and she will not take anything else other than Hendrix or McClintock now.
Wow.
High praise indeed.
You've mentioned me with Hendrix and with Booker's, so I think we're good with more comparisons.
I think you've made it.
That's perfect. Very kind, Mike.
Awesome.
And we'll get you guys. I have a cognac barrel-aged beer that is made for whiskey drinkers that might get you. It'll open the doors to the wonderful world of gin.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Sounds good.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
that cognac aged gin is awesome.
Yeah,
Good
it's
Lord.
about 100 proof, so it's a little dangerous.
Oh,
So good.
wow.
Are we officially booze busters now?
You know,
We've been
we
talking
joked about it before, but yeah, we might as well.
Got to branch out. You know.
Jesus.
I mean, you got to expand horizons. You got to make sure you're all inclusive and make sure you're covering all the bases.
Absolutely.
It's true.
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll get the spirits in there. We'll get the
Well, we've
hard
done mead.
seltzers.
We've done
We got mead.
ciders.
Yeah, and ciders. Can't forget the ciders.
Mead's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple good meaderies up this way. There's a really good one in the Reading area where Steph is.
Yeah. If you get down to Frederick area, check out Orchid Cellars. They're awesome. Of course, McClintock, us. There's a couple other breweries in Frederick, a couple other just distilleries in Frederick. All of us do something a little different, and that's what makes us a good community. We all try to do something a little different and try to boost each other as best we can.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It's amazing. The beer and the whiskey are delicious. I can't wait to see what comes out of it next year when you revisit it. It's great to see you in on the conversation, but also being willing to revisit it as often as you can, and that's just fantastic. So thank you for all that work, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
so
us.
much for having us on. And now that the Wizards have been eliminated, I'm pulling for the Sixers.
Yes,
so
go Sixers.
I'm on your
Also,
team.
go Flyers, who has a recording start in 7 minutes. Go Flyers.
Oh boy.
Go Flyers.
It's a shame we have another interview to do, Dan.
Yeah, I know. I was really debating just telling you guys to do that one on your own. But thank you so much. Frederick, Maryland is where you can go. McClintock Distilling, Idiom Brewing, and plenty of other stuff that is down that way apparently. And I need to burn some vacation time to go down to Frederick is what I'm learning.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, cheers, guys.
Huge thanks to Braden and Mike for that. It was really cool. And seriously, the beer's great. The whiskey is fucking awesome, too. And I can't wait to see how it turns out next year when they revisit it and do, like, extra-aged versions of it. And hopefully we do get to try it then. I'm going to make it my mission to try it when it releases. I'll be the one that goes to Frederick, Steph.
Can extra aged version be an official beer style now?
Extra aged version, like double dry hopped.
Yeah.
Extra aged version.
Extra-aged.
Extra aged version.
I do want to say, if we start collecting spirits, if more distilleries start getting on the train of doing the Black is Beautiful collab, we start collecting them, we are not doing an episode where we're tasting all of them.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
just,
no.
that's
Beers.
just dangerous.
Yeah, so for our listeners, we actually recorded that interview a week ago. And we recorded it before the interview that you'll hear in the next episode, 201. That was a bad idea doing all of that in one night.
But it was so much fun.
It was fun. The guys from McClintock, the guy from McClintock and the guy from Idiom were super cool, really
Yeah.
fun to talk to. And then they go into Human Robot after that because those guys are just crazy.
Oh my god. Oh, that was great. You'll really enjoy what
Yeah,
what you hear
promo
next
for the
episode.
next episode.
Yeah.
We don't get to do that often, but yeah, it was really cool. But speaking of Black is Beautiful, I've cracked open our next can. I really wanted to do this one, so I wanted to keep this at the top of the list. Another Harris family collab. They've been getting around and collabing with everybody on this. This is them, Wolf Brewing and Evergreen. And this version is a 9.5% Imperial Stout, so a little bit lower than some of the others, but with molasses, cinnamon, banana puree, and walnut. So a lot going on in this beer.
What was the ABV? I missed it.
9.5.
Thank you. Yeah, when you read the description of this one earlier, I couldn't wait to try it. So I'm glad we're doing this early.
Ooh. There's a lot going on there. Definitely get the banana.
Oh my god! Oh my god! What? Oh, wait, hold on.
Ho! It's a bit much for me. I got to be honest. I like a couple sips. I think are going to be good, but I don't know if I could drink a lot of this one. It's just a lot going on. It's kind of like it's like a lot of your crazy pastry stouts. It's like a dessert in a glass, like candy bar in the glass, which is fun. But I don't want to drink a whole glass of it, which is good because I don't want to drink a whole glass of any of these because we have like 16 of them to drink.
Exactly. But it's this is like the epitome of a beer flavor journey because you get as you finish swallowing it, you're gonna get different flavors from every step along the way.
Yeah, like I said, there is a lot going on in this beer.
I see you writing that down.
Yeah, I'm writing down as you finish swallowing it. That's what I do. I write down funny phrases throughout the episode. Also, I don't know, Steph, have you had this one? I'm sure you have.
Yes, I have. I actually don't have any cans remaining.
Any of that left? An interesting take on it. Like I said, it's not bad. I just don't think I could do a lot of it. It's not really my thing. These kinds of beers, I just like to taste them a bit and then move on.
Yeah, as much as I used to really gravitate towards this kind of beer, I'm in the same boat now. I think just try it and kind of keep going, especially this episode. And we're going to say that a lot, but
Next.
it is very sweet. It hits a lot of those pastry notes that you get. The banana is really prominent.
It really
and
is.
everything else is a very nice supporting character to it.
Yeah, and I found that the banana character on the first sip was a bit much. It was a little harsh.
Yeah.
But now that I've gone through it a little bit more, and these cans have been out for a little while, so they are fairly warm. They're not like as cold as they were when I first took them out of the fridge. So that changes it a little bit. I think that to the benefit. But yeah, it's a little intense on the first sip, and then you kind of get used to it. Not saying I don't like it.
I'm typically not a fan of pastry stouts. I find them to be too sweet. This was a little too sweet to me, but I think it is a fun idea. And there are people that are just all over this beer and are just loving it. So for anybody that really enjoys a pastry stout, this is definitely right down their alley.
Yeah, it really is. Anyway, so when looking for tasting glasses for tonight's adventure, I found in our cabinet one of the tasters from Harrisburg Beer Week's Little Big Beer Fest. Always really cool glassware there, which reminded me of some sad news that came out recently that I thought we should talk about.
Yeah, by the time this episode posts, it's something you've probably seen and come to terms with. But yeah, Harrisburg Beer Week is officially no more. This year, obviously, it was called off because of COVID. Nobody could really gather anywhere. But they had virtual sessions and all and tried to keep up with some of it. But next year, it's just kaput. This is the end of it. So after 6 years and donating nearly $200,000 to Harrisburg River Rescue and Emergency Services, it's coming to an end. And of course, they want you to still think about and donate to the River Rescue if you can. And we would like to echo that as well, because it is a worthwhile service that needs and can benefit from every donation they can get. And Harrisburg Beer Week did a lot to raise a lot of money for it. So it's something that will be missed on many, many fronts. And I think I've taken the path of, instead of being sad over it, which obviously I am, I just want to look back and remember all the good times that we had and all the cool breweries that we got to experience their beers, the cool people that we got to meet, the events that we got to be part of. And it's just great. It was so great that it happened, that it thrived for so long. Is thrived the past tense of thrive?
I know you want to say like throve.
Throve. It feels wrong. But it's great that it was able to succeed for as long as it did.
I made a Facebook post about it. I wanted to say something online, like, since I first heard about it, and I didn't really know, because it has been such a big part. It's like very much intertwined with the history of our podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
So I made a post about it on Facebook, and I said some of these things there that I just want to say again. One is that I felt like it was really authentic as far as like big beer events go. Like, it wasn't very like corporate. It wasn't like a logo on the side of a sports account. You know what I mean? Like that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, the people that organized it, the wonderful group that organized it, we've had all of them on the show. It was all volunteer work for them. In fact, they would normally donate their own money, extra time, take vacation time from their day jobs to be part of all of it and make it all happen. And that's a huge commitment. And the fact that it was able to last for as long as it did is really a testament.
Considering that it stayed, I mean, they brought on some extra help throughout the years,
right.
But that core group, Tierney, Sarah, Colleen, Chelsea, and
then intern Jimmy.
I knew I was going to start to struggle to remember all the names when I was put on the spot.
You went up to the picture.
Especially that first year. And that brings you back to, it's been, 6 years you said? So, we were only about a year into doing the podcast when it started. And, the fact that they were open to us being involved in it was this is a thing. We're really a thing now. And, the people that we met, the breweries that we've connected with, and them and all their other adventures that they do outside of Harrisburg Beer Week that we've gotten to be involved in various degrees. I mean, it made a big difference. I mean, I don't think this podcast would have played out over the past 6 years the way it has if we hadn't been involved with Harrisburg Beer Week very much in the first year. Since then, I mean, it's half the state away from us. We're in Philadelphia. So we couldn't be involved as much as maybe we wanted to sometimes, but we always did Little Big Beer Fest.
Yeah.
Always looked forward to it. And
Little Big Beer Fest legit is my favorite fest.
Yeah.
Was.
Yeah. I kind of hope, and I wanted to say something like this online too, but I didn't want to get into it, but like I hope they could at least like do that fest every year, just that one fest.
Wouldn't
you
it
know?
be-
Yeah,
That
just
would be amazing.
it can mean annual fundraiser for the River Rescue, and that way it's still carrying on the tradition. Now they did also say the 717 collaboration.
That's still going to
yes.
happen.
They're
some
still
way.
looking to pursue it in some way. Nothing is official, but they don't know if it's going to be like the same recipe or if it's going to evolve into something else. But there will be causes that will benefit the River Rescue, and again, it's a charity that definitely deserves every donation that they get, and they could benefit from as much as they could get. So if you are thinking of where you can spread your money and try to do some good, that is one that you should certainly consider.
And just for the record, I mean, there's no drama or secret about this. They were very honest and just said that, they have family commitments, health commitments, employment commitments. They just could not. It's a year-round volunteer job. They definitely committed a lot of their own time to put this together, and they just didn't have the time anymore.
Yeah.
And, I respect them for that.
Especially as it grew, because the first year was only a couple events every day at most, and it lasted a legit week, and then it grew to be like the 10-day week or whatever with God knows how many events every day. That's a lot. That is so much. I mean, Steph, we joked about it before we started recording. You planned our 100th episode, which was awesome. That was one event, and it almost drove you mad.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that they were able to put on a week plus of daily events, multiple events every day, it's huge. That's great. Cheers to everyone involved in it. Cheers to you if you went to an event. It definitely is worth celebrating.
Yeah, and I'll never forget like the first year, especially like I was talking about. What really got me thinking about that first year was when you were talking about the crew behind it and how they are all volunteers and like obviously people only have so much bandwidth and we can't blame them for saying that we just can't keep up with this anymore. And I'm sure it was not an easy decision for anyone to make. But that first year, I'll never forget Tierney like literally like working a full 8-hour shift at her normal job and then going like, because we were talking to her, I think it was at Little Big Beer Fest that year when we had him on the podcast, and always towards the end of the week, and she was talking about like going to work all day and then going right out and hanging out till like 2 a.m, getting up, going to work the next day, doing it all again, and she took like one afternoon off the whole week.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
And they would make sure that at least one of them was at every event.
Yep.
Which was absolutely insane. And, but beyond Harrisburg Beer Week, all of the founders or members of the team, they do a lot of great things for the Harrisburg area to promote craft beer. Chelsea has her blog that she and her husband Derek do, and Sarah Bozich is, of course, she has sarahbozich.com, and she is part of the Port and PA series with Nate. And Tierney is just like a pop star in Harrisburg, I feel like. I mean, she just brings positivity and happiness everywhere. And Jimmy is just a lot of fun. I mean, they're great people, and they are still going to bring their own positivity and things to Harrisburg. So
For
it'll
sure.
be good.
For sure.
But maybe we can petition to at least have Little Big Beer Fest.
And that
continue.
would be awesome. And you mentioned their blog, Chelsea and Derek Markle's blog. It's a Brew Life is what it's called. And Sarah Bozich does have her blog just at her website, sarahbozich.com. And that's where there was a very transparent, open, and honest post about what happened, the fact that, yes, it is discontinued, and a lot of information around the whole thing. Thanks to her for posting this when so many people had so many questions about it.
You remember when we shot the video at the Battle of the Homebrew Clubs?
Yeah.
I don't think I was there
I
for
don't
that
think
one.
you were there
No.
for that.
I was a judge.
You were a
I
judge,
was a
that's
judge,
right.
and you did the video.
And I shot the video. That's on our YouTube channel if you want to check that out.
Yeah.
But I would actually recommend on that, and this is a little bit of self-promotion, obviously, but just as sort of a record, if you go to beerbusterspodcast.com and just in the search, just type in Harrisburg Beer Week, there's tons of stuff, podcast episodes, articles, videos are going to pop up just from all over the years, the things that we did. And I think it's worth checking out just, not because I want you to go to our website, which I do, but also because it's just a cool little like record of what Harrisburg Beer Week was throughout the years.
Our Port and PA, the series interview was done.
Yeah,
Little Big Beer
that was
Fest.
a Little Big Beer
after
Fest.
Little Big Beer Fest. We drank the vagina beer at Little Big Beer Fest.
I wasn't there for that one.
Oh, that was the year you weren't there. That's
yeah,
right.
my friend had to go and get
James
stupid
was
married.
our
James sat in that episode.
Honorary
and
beer
said
buster.
10 words the whole episode.
Yeah, that was an interesting one to edit because it was mostly you guys.
He did. Well, I mean, it's not what he does.
Right,
Like,
right,
We just
right.
sort of, like had him like talk about beer.
This is fire.
It was fire, James. It was.
Hold the
fire.
door.
James is the best. And Wolf, I mean, we just drank their beer. I mean, we met him
Yeah.
at Little Big Beer Fest,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people.
And I'm
we
pretty
have.
sure Haymauer, we met
Yep.
them through
Yeah.
Harrisburg Beer
Yep.
Week
Yeah.
events.
A lot of people we met through, and I feel like, we've done a lot in Central PA, even though we're more of an Eastern PA, located. And I think in large part because we've been involved in Harrisburg Beer Week, and because like we had met a lot of the people, who were involved in breweries that may have been at Little Big Beer Fest beforehand, but like us being there every year kind of like solidified the legitimacy of what we were doing. And like I think people that may not have been super interested in being on the show before, after like seeing what we were doing there, were a little more open to it. So it definitely helped us out. So
Yeah, it sucks it's ending, but remember, celebrate it for what it was. Enjoy the good times. Remember them very fondly because there's no bad memories. involved in it.
#save LBBF.
Yes. I'm behind that hashtag. Let's do it.
Me too.
I
And
have
don't forget to donate to the Harrisburg
Yes,
River
for
Rescue.
sure.
They still need the money.
Do another thing on that, like on multiple occasions, being told how much like the Harrisburg River Rescue like could not believe that they wanted to do
Yeah.
this for them. They're
Yeah.
like, wait, you're just gonna wait? It's beer, and you're gonna give us money? Like what? I don't understand. And then all the cool things they were able to do with that money throughout the years has been well documented. So very cool.
For sure.
I did crack open another beer.
Which one?
Yeah, what do we got?
This one is Levante. Nothing special about this one. Straight up, just the original recipe.
Worst introduction to a beer ever.
Yeah, I was
Sorry.
going to say that.
I just meant it's not any.
It's very true to the style and doesn't add any bells or whistles. It is just it
Yeah.
is presented in and of itself
No
as the
offense.
basics.
I say a lot of things that sound offensive towards Levante, and I don't mean them. I love Levante.
They love us too.
Oh, that's
You have to warn me though, so I have a moment to like dig through the.
Oh,
cooler
sorry.
and
Yeah, I
find
don't.
it.
I was actually trying to find another like Harrisburg area one that we haven't done yet, and I didn't see any on the list.
Well, we did already drink the Trogs.
Yeah, because we did
Harris
that one
family.
already.
That beer is. Whew,
I have the Love
amazing,
City
but
Harris
I'm a lager
family.
girl.
Yeah, but we did the Love City Harris family before on the show, I believe. So we'll save that for off the air
Yes.
drinking. And then Locust Lane is out that way. Are they like State College area? So they're
no,
not,
their Locust Lane is.
I forget where they are.
It's like near Wayne.
I was going to say we have not gone towards State College.
It's off of 202.
No.
It's more towards Philly.
Okay. I was thinking what it was they were big Penn State.
And
Yeah.
by Wayne,
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean by Wayne, I
Wayne,
mean Wayne,
Pennsylvania.
PA, not Wayne
Yeah.
Baker.
Understood. Yeah, I forgot exactly where they were, and I was thinking they might be out that way. But
So this one is 11%.
yeah, I know.
It does not feel like it. It feels like it's got a hefty body, but it doesn't have a lot of the heat that you would expect it for being 11%.
It does say about notes of caramel and the sweet brown sugar, and I do definitely get that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Ah, brown sugar. Why do it taste so good?
Why you taste so good? Very good.
I bought brown sugar like a year and a half or 2 years ago, and I used it once.
What is Demerara sugar?
I don't know, Game of Thrones sugar?
So we know what that is.
That's Dracarys?
What?
Demerara? I thought that was Dracarys.
Darmok Enchilad at Tanagra.
It's brown sugar.
I thought so.
Oh.
I thought it was just a fancy name for brown sugar, but I didn't want to say that and be dumb if I was wrong.
I needed
It's
powdered.
a type of raw cane sugar with a large grain, crunchy texture, and pale brown color.
So it's like that sugar in the raw stuff you get.
Oh, I think that's
the same thing,
This
right? It's
explains so
Demerara
much,
sugar.
but I used to eat packets of that stuff just by itself.
Holy shit.
I know. Yeah, that explains
Ew.
so much.
About you?
packets of sugar.
I really enjoy this beer. The fact that it, well, how did you say it? How did you say that was borderline insulting?
There's nothing special.
Nothing special about it.
But that just meant they didn't do a big different twist on it. They just
works.
made the recipe.
It works in its favor. It's the recipe. It is presented in the Levante style, which is in this case very, very true to the style. It's good. It's really good.
It's a little bit on the sweeter side than the others that have been
Yeah.
more brewed to style.
Yeah, maybe less the yeast didn't eat as much. But
Well, it is 11%.
Yeah. Well, so they ate.
So the yeast
they
ate pretty much.
They certainly shit a lot.
You know how beer making works, Wayne.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But no, what I was going to say is actually having a bunch of these that don't have like a big, that are the original style. Like we've had some of the brown lager, we had oatmeal stouts, which is great, and I love the variety. But having a bunch that are pretty much the same recipe allows you to taste the difference in process, because that, you know, has as much effect on the beer as what you put into it is also the process of making it, the different facilities, how big is your system, how efficient is your system, you know, whether they're actually, I mean, and maybe they're not all using the same yeast. I mean, maybe they have you know, their own house strains or whatever that they use. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting to get that terroir aspect.
There's a brewery in Charlotte that did a black Pilsner as their Black is Beautiful.
Oh, really?
So if there's anyone that listens to our show and lives in Charlotte, is it Noda Brewing? Noda? Is that how you say it? Noda. Noda Brewing in Charlotte. They did a dark Pilsner.
Interesting.
I really want that.
That sounds interesting. Yeah, I would like
but
to
I
try
really don't want to drive to Charlotte for a beer.
That is a long
But
way
I
to go.
would.
Yeah, that's true. That's certainly true.
And that one's only 5.1%. I feel like we need more. So we need to encourage breweries that are going to remake the beer to do it on like a scale where it's more sessionable, so we can drink more of them.
I love that all these beers have the exact same label. I also hate that all these beers have the exact same label.
I feel you.
All right, so moving on to the Locust Lane version.
Yeah,
this.
we recorded at Locust Lane. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
It was fun. We recorded
Seems
at
like forever ago.
every place that we've drank from so far. There's only a couple beers we have from breweries that have never been on the podcast. Most of them have.
So this one, it says, this delicious stout was brewed with strength best illustrated through its robust mouthfeel and ABV percentage. It's 9%, by the way. Bold flavors of roasted coffee and chocolate notes, as well as a classically dark sheen common in imperial stouts.
I'm not going to lie. I missed everything you just said. I am so sorry.
It's 9% Imperial Stout.
All right. I'm really starting to feel it, and I wrote a typo, and I was so caught up in correcting it.
Is it a typo if you write it?
I wrote a righto.
It's a righto.
A righto.
I had a righto.
Oh, shouldn't it be a wrongo?
I had a wrongo. But
I knew you'd appreciate that. That was a dad joke right there.
Oh yeah, this is not as sweet as Levante.
yeah, this one I actually is a little bit harsher, which I think I actually like a little better. There we go, shitting on Levante again, unintentionally. I really do love them.
We love Levante.
Their Pilsner
No,
is
I
amazing.
definitely prefer stouts that are more roasty and harsh and astringent. That's how I like my stouts. But I think the Levante version was really well done. And, you know, I appreciated the sweetness, and I'm good. We haven't had a bad one yet.
No.
I'm a banana.
Oh boy.
Perfect. You should have played that when we were drinking the Evergreen.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
right.
true. But yeah, this is really good. It is a little more. It's a little more bitter. It hits more of those smoky notes.
I have to say, one of the coolest things about this project is that I've been checking out breweries that either I haven't been to in a long time or I've never been. Like going to Locust Lane, I realized like how long it's been since I've gotten beer from there,
been
and their
like
beer
3
is
years.
really good. And I'm like, it's been a long time since I've been here and a long time since we recorded there. I need to be going there more often because they're making some banging shit.
We
So,
talked about a mountain when we were there.
Did we?
we talked about a mountain.
It was something about elevation.
Oh yeah, we talked about.
Was it about Colorado?
There was something about the brewery in the world,
Yeah.
like the highest elevation. That came up.
Yeah, we did.
I don't remember exactly.
Damn, you remember something.
I remember the dumbest shit about everything.
I remember there was an acoustic guitar player there that.
Oh
performed
yeah, he was good.
Before we started, he was really good, and
We
he
had him
jumped
on.
on. He jumped
Yeah,
on the
we
show
had him
for a
on.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are really cool. Big Penn State fans, which is why I thought they were in that area.
They did also have a giant Flyers flag in.
I remember the flags
in the brewery.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Episode
129.
Go ahead and listen to it.
Back in 2017.
What was it called? What was the subtitle?
Turn it up. Oh, turn it up to 11,000 feet.
Turn it up to
Get
11,000 feet. There it is.
Get it? Instead of turn it up to 11.
Yep.
Turn it up to 11,000 feet.
You know,
I appreciated that.
Sometimes I'm proud of the things that come out of my brain.
Let's pair this bitch up.
So, Dan, if you're hungry, what would you pair with these beers? AKA, what are you ordering?
I'm looking for a spicy chicken sandwich.
You and your spicy fucking chicken
Listen,
sandwiches.
man, I got to find something that comes close to Howlin' Ray's. And so far, literally nothing does.
I'm shaking my head, but I just ate a bunch of fried pickles, so.
Howlin' Ray's is where I realized I like pickles.
So, as a preview to next episode, we recreated the vegan meatball sandwich from Memphis Taproom at home.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it
so
good?
For anyone that loves Memphis Taproom as much as I do, you may know that they a while ago took the spaghetti sandwich, which happens to be vegan, off the menu, and they recently got a
ransom letter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A ransom-like letter.
Ken was on the phone. I have a very specific set of skills.
But anyway, so we made our own homemade vegan meatballs using the vegan ground beef from Lidl, because we now have a Lidl local to me.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And spaghetti, and we used a spicy marinara sauce that we got from Russo's, which is a local Italian market, and then we used Amoroso rolls and turned them into like garlic bread rolls. It was phenomenal, the sandwich. So I sent Ken a picture of the sandwich.
Did you send him the recipe?
The moral of the story is, if your favorite restaurant takes your favorite dish off the menu, you can just try to recreate it at home and everything will be okay.
Or just write the ransom note and it makes a good story.
Write a ransom note and be on the internet.
Threaten the business.
So which one are we opening next?
So I moved on to Evil Genius.
Oh, that one's right on top. Thank you. Oh, not anymore. Oh, there it is. Okay.
It was.
It was on top.
So the Evil Genius version is nothing special.
No, it is. It has like berries in it.
Does it? I wasn't sure about this. Oh, yeah. You can tell in the aroma. There's something going on there. So what does it have? Because the label doesn't really say. It just says 10% Imperial Stout.
Yeah, so this is a 10% Imperial Stout brewed with a variety of dark malts before being conditioned on heaps of fresh blueberries and raspberry puree. So it says this decadent ale brings forth floral and espresso-like aromas, followed by bold flavors of baker's chocolate, blueberry muffin, raspberry jam, and a kiss of spicy vanilla. And theirs is going to the NAACP, National Legal Defense Fund.
The berry really comes through in a way I did not expect.
You know, I can't tell if I like the pairing of like dark chocolate and berries, and that's what this has. That's the jive of this beer is
the jive, you say?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I like that jive, and I like this beer.
I think jive is a problematic term. We should probably not use it. But I can't tell. Like I was thinking the other day about, because like with Greg Ortham, we've done pairings. He's had a lot of chocolates. Like there's a lot of chocolates too, like chocolate and raspberry, chocolate and blueberry, and that sort of thing. And because this has, you know, such a chocolate coffee thing going on in the base, adding the berries kind of gives that same flavor profile. And I can't tell if I like it or not. I
like this one because it's more of a dark, bitter chocolate with the berries, and I personally really like that pairing.
Yeah, I don't think you
desserts.
can do a tart fruit like a berry with a milky sweet chocolate. I think you're right. It definitely works better with a dark, bitter chocolate flavor. I think I like it.
The little Wayne that could.
Yeah, you know what? You know what it is that I really like raspberry or blueberry with like white chocolate. I think is really good, and I always sort of gravitate towards that side of the flavor spectrum. You know,
Pow, pow, flavor, cool shit, fuck yeah.
that side.
Let's talk about white chocolate for a moment.
I'd love to talk about white chocolate. I love white chocolate.
Like, I feel like it's not cool to like white chocolate. And I don't love white chocolate, but there are times that I really like white chocolate. We had white chocolate lemon truffles not that long ago, and they were really fucking delicious.
I've had people go on about how they don't consider white chocolate chocolate. It's not actually chocolate something, something, something. It's good. I like it. I have a white chocolate, hot chocolate mix in the kitchen that I'm just waiting for it to get cold so I can make again.
So white chocolate,
It's not cocoa. Like it's not technically chocolate.
it's cocoa butter, but no actual cocoa beans,
right.
right?
Or something like that. I don't know. We talked about this with Greg Orth.
I was going to say, let's call Greg.
We went into detail about it.
That would be
1-800
hilarious if we
Greg
would just
Orth.
randomly call past guests.
Oh, boy.
Who would answer? White chocolate is a chocolate confection made from cocoa butter, sugar, and milk solids. White chocolate does not contain any cocoa solids, which are found in other types of chocolate. But I feel like it's not cool to like white chocolate, but I also feel like white chocolate is actually really good.
It is really good.
So why did it become not cool to like white chocolate?
I really have no idea. My finger is not on the pulse of confectionery trends, so I really couldn't tell you. I do kind of feel like maybe it has like a Werther's original sort of like it's an old person candy, maybe kind of perception to it.
interesting
I mean, maybe I don't know, but I think it's freaking delicious.
And why do we care if a food is cool or not?
That's a very good
Eat
point.
what you like. Eat what
Yeah.
you like. Drink what you like. Life's too short. Find some kind of pleasure in it. I'm reading a book about philosophy and ethics for work right now, and it's really cool going through the ancient Greek philosophies and the different groups and different schools of philosophy. I'm not a skeptic. My entire life I thought I was a skeptic. I'm not. I'm an Epicurean.
Explain.
Epicureans like finding...
Epicurious. What is Epicurious?
Isn't that like food or something? Liking food?
Epicureans like finding pleasure in life wherever they can, including food. I like eating good food, hence caviar on my phone right now.
Isn't that a hedonist?
It is very hedonistic in its ways, but it is not hedonism in and of itself.
Okay. Also, we always have to categorize things.
Just
Yeah.
be a human. Like stuff. Enjoy stuff you like.
Well, but categorizing things is not necessarily a bad thing
No,
because
it's
it
very
provides
useful.
information.
Yeah. But
Like
it-
categorizing beers.
Yeah, but there's fuzzy edges. There's always fuzzy edges.
Yes.
just
Oh,
like in beer.
completely. And there are many brewers want to try to push those styles and push those boundaries and make beers that don't fit into those styles, which I respect and I'm happy about. But sometimes you want to know what you're getting into. Like, I don't know necessarily that I'd want to go to a brewery and be like, it's a 7% beer.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? Well, it's a beer.
Well, yeah, but you could also be like, it's a 7% beer with, dark malts and, these hops.
So
and-
categories are not necessary as long as you provide an explanation or description.
No, because that's boring. Because it also doesn't really help. Like it does, it explains to you exactly what it is, but it's like, then you have to know what all those like. If you're not somebody who knows what that means, but you do know what a stout versus an IPA is, but maybe you don't know like the names of all the different malts or hops or what they taste like. Categories are very useful.
Don't you think that descriptions are necessary now? I mean, just look at the beers we've been drinking. They're all described as imperial stouts, but none of these beers have been the same. They've all been quite different.
It's more of an overarching category might be, I guess, the best word for it, but
are they similar enough that just describing it as an imperial stout is enough?
in their foundations, maybe.
I disagree.
All
I
of
think
these
so.
are based on the same recipe. That's a similarity.
But they all taste very
They
different.
do,
But they
is-
all have a dark and roasty, bitter chocolate sort of foundation
But
that
some of them are way sweeter than others.
comes from the base malt. Yeah, and then on top of that, some of them go in different directions. So they're all stouts, and they're all imperial because that just means they have a fuck ton of alcohol in them.
Yes.
I'm still going to order real bad for me food. This is my cheat night.
Oh, well, when you're drinking 10% beers all night, you need to eat unhealthy food to suck up the alcohol. That's why I'm eating fried pickles and onion rings.
Wait a minute. How do I tip them?
What are you on, caviar?
Yeah.
I never
Oh,
liked
can
caviar.
we talk about that for a moment?
What about caviar?
No, about tipping.
Okay.
So we're in an interesting time.
Uh-huh.
Much of the beer and food that we are consuming is either being takeout food, carry-out food, or delivered to us.
Right.
And so we can start with beer specifically and maybe branch out from there. So a lot of times we go to a brewery, we get pickup cans.
Right.
If I'm picking up cans, I will admit, it takes some effort for a staff member to find my cans, put them aside, and give them to me. But perhaps not as much effort as pouring beers or pouring samplers or filling growlers or whatever. I don't give a fuck. I am actually over tipping right now. And I've seen conversations recently popping up on social media that people are saying that if you're doing takeout, that tipping is unnecessary or tipping should be minimal because they're not doing anything. I have a problem with that because the people that are putting aside my 4-pack or greeting me when I come to the brewery at my car to give me my 4-pack, these are people that are trying to make a decent living and are not receiving the normal amount of tips that they would be getting if COVID would not be happening and life would be normal.
I think that
Therefore, I feel like I am actually over tipping and overcompensating, leaving at least 20, often 25, 30 or more percent because I want to show these employees that I appreciate them. I want them to continue to be employed and I want them to still be waiting on me once I can go to the establishment and they can pour me beers again. And I'm really getting sick and tired of people that are not tipping or under tipping people, period. People in the service industry need our tips more than ever right now. And I feel like we need, if you are able to, I understand there are people out of work. I understand there are people not making money that they were before. And, if you're having hard times, you're having hard times, I get it. But if you are able to, you should be tipping the fuck out of these people right now.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
I do it when I go to pick up beer, if and when, or if they bring it to me, I make sure it's worth their while. But I have gone to places and I've gone to sit down restaurants and I have made sure that I'm super friendly as much as can be because I know some people are still kind of dicks out there. But then I will also make sure that I'm tipping more than enough because they got to put up with this shit. And they're bringing me my food, they're bringing me my drinks, and somebody out there, some dick is going to sit there without a mask and they're going to bullshit about something else. Like, I just want you to know I appreciate what you're doing for me, and I will make sure that I tip you as best that I possibly can. And it's like you said, 20, 25, 30%. Yeah, like you have to make sure you're taking care of those people, like you said, now more than ever.
The amount of people that they're able to wait on right now is even less. What restaurants are still at 25%, I think, in Pennsylvania?
Currently, and it's just outdoor. Well,
in Philly.
For some places here in Philly, for every place here in Philly, it's still outdoor seating at most.
Yeah.
Well, and outside of Philly, we do have limited indoor seating, but these servers or even brewery workers, I mean, they are seeing significantly less customers than they were seeing in the past. They are still trying to work their normal hours and still trying to make a living. And they are also kind of putting their lives at risk.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to be dramatic, but I feel like I need to be dramatic. But, I'm sure most of them feel like if they could afford to not work right now, they wouldn't work. Because who the hell would want to just work with the general public with how uncertain things are right now? But, they're putting their health on the line and they are working and still serving us. And I feel like if right now with how risky it is, if you are willing to go out and enjoy a beer or enjoy a meal in public, like good for you, please make smart choices, but also respect the person that's waiting on you and
definitely
tip them. I'm just like, I'm over it. I saw another post today when I got home and I'm like, this is why I don't go on Facebook. That's the first thing I said when I saw it, of one of my very dear friends who again got tipped fucking 17 cents on a tab, like a $40-some tab. Like it's ridiculous. It is utterly absurd. And I'm done. Like, don't go out in public. Don't go eat in public. Don't go drink in public if you are not willing to tip. Yes, the whole service industry is messed up as it is. Yes, these people should be making more money. Yes, they should be making at least minimum wage so that they don't have to rely on tips. But guess what, guys? The reality is these people have to rely on tips. And if you're not going to tip them, then eat at home.
Minimum wage in a tipped service industry is $2.83.
Yeah, so the way minimum wage works if you are tipped is your income with tips included has to average out to minimum wage. And usually that means they can get away with paying you $2 to $3 an hour because you're going to make $4 to $5 an hour in tips, at least. I mean, you're generally going to make more than that. And if you have a good job and things are normal.
Yeah, in a time that's not a pandemic. Yeah.
But yeah, and I think the key point is like I mean, the big thing is like, oh, do you tip if you're picking up as opposed to delivery? Like, if you're picking up now, like in normal times, if you're just going to pick up food, like maybe like a tip isn't. I mean, I would still probably tip, but the big key is that these people are not serving anyone. Barely in Philly, they're not serving anybody inside. There's barely any table service, so they're not getting the tips they were getting before. So yeah, you should. And also because I personally worked for 3 weeks straight in a situation serving people food and drink directly in a situation where I was not being properly protected. I got fucking corona because of it, and I knew I was going to. And you know, that experience made me and I think a lot of other people realize that, you know, something we've always known is that the service industry is fucked up. And I think like maybe tips shouldn't even be a thing. I think maybe
it shouldn't have to be a thing.
It shouldn't have to be a thing. I mean, there's a lot of like you hear about like in Asian cultures and like Japan, they don't tip at all because if you work as a waiter, like you make enough money to have a decent living. You don't have to rely on the kindness of strangers because your employer doesn't want to pay you.
It's not even just there.
Live.
When I was in Europe,
There's a lot of places.
This was 2004, and we would go out to drink or go out to eat wherever because I wasn't drinking at the time because I was underage and I'm a responsible person.
And you didn't like beer, be honest.
I know. I didn't like beer at the time. And I was very against alcohol because that's when we had familial problems with alcohol. But we would go out and our chaperone would always say, remember, you don't have to tip. You don't have to tip. You don't have to tip. Don't leave extra money. It's factored in. And it just felt weird not to because we're conditioned as Americans that you have to tip. It's just what you do.
And there is, sorry to cut you off, but no, there is something to be said for the fact that like exceptional service should be rewarded by the person who's receiving that service. Like there is, and I guess it's an American perspective because we've grown up and lived in this sort of society for a very long time that we just kind of figure that's the way it is. But like there is a certain feeling where like you want to show appreciation. Like I've gone to places to eat or drink or whatever and gotten service that was like, wow, like that was outstanding. Like that person really went out of their way to make my experience more enjoyable. And, you know, and maybe rewarding them with money is kind of a shitty capitalist way of looking at
capitalism at its best.
Like, oh, you did a good job. Here's an extra $5 or whatever. I value you as a human being, and I'm putting a number on that value and representing it with this currency right here or whatever. And maybe that is just ridiculous to begin with. So I can understand though, like the idea of like you when somebody is like waiting on you, you know, I think for most normal people, you do feel a certain indebtedness where like this person, you know what I mean? Like it's different when you do the laundry, you're not really thankful to the washing machine the way you are thankful to the waiter that brings you your food.
I have a proposal.
I tip our washing machine.
Oh, is that why it doesn't work?
Probably. He tips it, but not in the way you're thinking.
Exactly.
I have a proposal.
What's your proposal?
If anyone out there knows someone or is friends with someone in the service industry, I feel like you should just Venmo them money. I literally just Venmo'd that person I was talking about $20. And I said, here's the tip for the asshole that didn't tip you. If you're able to give a couple bucks to anyone that you know that works in the service industry, because I guarantee you they are getting under-tipped, just send them money, Venmo, PayPal, whatever. If you're old school, mail them a $5 bill, whatever. And just be like, here's the tip for that asshole that didn't tip you.
And maybe also do whatever you can in the circles you travel in your professional and personal life to promote the idea that employers should pay people commensurate for the value that they bring to society. Well, like in general, like I just think that's not a thing, and it should be a thing.
That's a much larger thing. And
I know, but it's a thing that's come up that has been put under laser focus. And I feel like at the beginning of the pandemic, when everybody was talking about essential workers, it was more in laser focus, and now we've got, I don't want to say distracted because other important things have come up, but that conversation has not maybe continued as loudly as it did back then. And you know, the guy who picks up your trash, like, yeah, it's not like a super like skilled position necessarily, but like also We in Philadelphia have not had our trash picked up regularly for a while now. And when it doesn't happen, it fucking sucks. There are roaches, there are flies, there are bags of trash just piling up on the street. And you don't realize how much you take for granted that basic service. And these poor guys, the reason it hasn't been picked up is because like a handful of them tested positive for COVID. So everybody who worked with them had to quarantine for 2 weeks. They're out in the hot fucking sun. Probably, I mean, I heard they get paid decently, but still probably not like making a fuck ton of money.
They're not getting hazard pay, and they're not being sent to work with proper PPE.
Yeah, and they're working with people who are infected, then they have to quarantine.
Yep.
I don't know if they're getting paid when they're getting quarantined. They're full wages. Maybe they're getting partial pay. They're probably just getting the same unemployment that everybody else gets, which was sort of elevated for a while, but I don't know. It's just like people do these jobs that like maybe you don't think about. Or that maybe you think are like unskilled. The one thing I will say is that like being a server at a restaurant is the furthest thing from an unskilled job. Like that is fucking
that takes a
hard.
level of talent and balance that I could
hard.
never do.
And I don't
You know what else though? Like get to know these people's names. Like,
Yeah.
is it so hard to say hello to the trash collector or your mailman? I love that I finally know my mailman's name, and I talk to him every time I see him, and I love it. And we gave him cupcakes a few weeks ago.
Did you ask him if they
Like-
plugged the sorting machine back in?
Hey, I stood outside my local post
did.
office with my
You
sign.
did.
I did my part. Save the post office. That's a whole nother conversation. But no, just like respect the people in your life and the people around you and the people that do things for you. Like pick up your trash and deliver your mail and bring your beer to your table. And we just got to do a better job at appreciating people. And sometimes it's just fucking smiling.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Nobody smiles anymore. Or like learn
We have to
someone's
actually
name.
we have to
Like,
come up with an alternative because we have to wear masks now. So we need like a hand gesture.
you
that means,
can
like,
see a smile in your eyes.
You
I'm
can.
sorry.
but like
you
a wave
can see it.
or like a.
I don't know. There's times I smile with my mouth, but I'm really dead inside up here.
Should we do the
Well,
live
you're
long and
always
prosper
inside.
thing? Was that,
You can do
Did you see-
jazz hands.
See Lower Decks this week.
I did, yeah.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
Uh,
I feel like now more than ever, we just need
Yeah.
to like connect and show appreciation and stop being dicks.
We're all humans. Nobody's better than anybody else. I don't fucking care what anybody says. We're all on this shitty ass rock hurtling through space together.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at your brother.
I know.
doing
He's making
this.
very violent gestures.
I was making
This is one of those
exaggerated
episodes.
gestures.
Maybe we should have recorded the video.
Yeah, right.
Live and learn. For 300.
What are
we'll
we
do it.
drinking now?
So I just opened the Root Down
Ooh.
version.
Oh, this is one of my favorites.
This is good. This sort of strikes a balance where it's a bit sweeter, but not as sweet as some of the other ones we've had. I'm really digging this one. I really wish these weren't so high in alcohol.
Yeah, I'm already feeling it.
That's kind of like I get that that's kind of like that's what they were going for, but like some of these beers taste really good, and I wish I could drink more of them without consuming so much alcohol. But that's because we're old.
Oh my gosh. It was the 10th one I picked
Did you
up.
finally find it? So it occurs to me we're kind of getting on social issues subjects, which is bound to happen when you're drinking, and is bound even more to happen when you're drinking in these, quote unquote, uncertain times that we live in. Hashtag uncertain times.
Unprecedented
I hate
Registered
hearing
trademark.
these uncertain,
In these times, in this economy,
I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing that.
Oh, boy.
We all know it sucks.
Dan's really ranty right now.
Dan's really hungry.
He's hangry. But
No,
anyway,
I hate that word too.
what?
Hangry.
Why do you hate the word hangry?
It's not a word.
No, it's a portmanteau.
What is going on?
It is not a one. No.
It's a portmanteau. You can't. Okay, here's a point I'm going to make that's going to make me sound like a super fucking nerd. But if I say a word and you know what I mean, you cannot say that's not a word. That's how language works.
SMH.
See, I know what you mean. That is a valid, expressive expression in the English language that is generally understood.
What the fuck does yeet mean?
Yay. I mean, I hope it doesn't mean the
No,
same thing as.
people.
I hope it
people are
doesn't
like,
mean the same thing as skeet, skeet, skeet.
No, people are like, oh, he yeeted out of here. What the fuck does it mean?
It does not mean ejaculate, I don't think.
Oh, he cummed out of here.
He comes out of here.
Anyway, what I was trying to say is,
God.
I feel
I
like
know what jeet means. Jeet?
Jeet yet?
Jeet yet.
Jeet?
yet?
Jeet yet?
Oh, I bought a hat from South Fellini. I'm sorry, you were on an actual point.
Skeet, motherfucker.
Yeet means to discard an item at high velocity, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, like, when I get angry at technology and I throw it out the window,
like a rage quit.
I yeet the technology out the window.
I yeet my controller at the screen.
My goal is to make young people not want to say this word anymore. Nobody says YOLO anymore.
They should. I miss YOLO. Anyway, my point I was trying to make is that we were talking a lot about social issues, and we're doing a Black is Beautiful beer tasting. So, I know we talked a lot about representation in the beer industry and how that relates to the struggles of people of color in general. But I think it would be remiss if we didn't at least touch on the subject. I know we're a bunch of white people drinking these beers right now, in the comfort of our living rooms on a Zoom chat. So, we're fairly...
Hey, I'm in my bedroom, not my
waiting
living
for
room.
it.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, technically, we're in the dining room.
We are in the dining room. So we're all fairly privileged is what I was getting at. So we can't really have, an in-depth conversation about this because none of us know what it really feels like to live in a situation where you feel like the very structures that are in place supposedly to protect society might actually be working against you and be dangerous to you. That's hard for us to fathom. But I think we would need at least need to address that that's what this beer is about, and that a big part of this collaboration is donating to organizations, crucially at the brewery's discretion, which I think is really cool, but also making a commitment to be conscientious at all times of being inclusive and diverse and accepting people of all creeds and colors and religions and all that kind of stuff. But particularly because the plight of Black people in this country has really, unfortunately, been thrust into the limelight again. 50 years plus since the Civil Rights Movement, 100 and some odd years since the Civil War, and we're still trying to figure this shit out, which is sad. And that's why we need to do things like this. And I just feel like I don't know how much we can really speak on it. I don't know if it's appropriate for us to speak on it because we don't live it, but I think we at least need to acknowledge that that's what this is all about.
I'm going to give a plug to a sort of extracurricular activity that I've picked up. When we recorded at Homebrewed Events a while ago, we were with Meredith Rebar, who runs The Joint, and she is starting a podcast of which I am producing that is dedicated to diversity in the service industry. And we recorded our first episode the other day, and it's going to be a hell of a ride. So keep an eye out for Be Bold, the podcast. Yours truly is producing and engineering it, so I may or may not be biased. But the for not really taking much of a stance in the conversation myself in the first episode, it's definitely worth a listen. I was very engaged in just listening to what they were talking about. So it's something that needs to be brought to the limelight, and this is something that will try to tackle that as best it can, and it is totally worth a listen. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, and that's cool. And these are obviously conversations that need to be had. It still feels weird, and it like this. I think a lot of white people of good conscience right now are feeling a similar thing, where it's like I kind of feel like I don't have a right to talk about. Like I want to talk about it in the sense that I want to say yes, this is wrong, and I agree that it's wrong, but also I don't know what it's like. I don't know what it's like to be a transgendered youth who's rejected by their family. I don't know what it's like to be a first-generation immigrant who came to the country with nothing and has to figure out what to do. I don't know what it's like to be a single parent, making minimum wage. I don't know any of these things.
So here's the thing. Maybe this is me just being drunk and trying to rationalize some things and think things out. But at least you understand there is a plight of those people.
Yeah. Well, and that's the point I'm trying to make.
You acknowledge the struggle. You acknowledge that things need to change for the better for those people, and that is honorable in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and supporting projects like Black is Beautiful, and supporting charities that do the work, and just people have made a big idea lately out of not just being not racist but being anti-racist, and there is a difference. Yeah, it's easy to not be racist. We all have our own internal biases that come from our lizard brains that are kind of hard to control, and all we can do is acknowledge and process them appropriately. But at the same time, we all experience racism to some degree at one point or another in our daily lives, and it is difficult as when you're not on the victim end of it to stand up to it. It's difficult to stand up to anything. I mean, let's face it, it's not easy, but I do think it's important to call out racism where you see it, and not just not engage in it, but like engage against it. And yeah, I mean, I'm a white guy. That's the best I can do.
Well said.
Did I mention we opened the Root Town beer?
You did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that because I wrote it down.
Okay.
There are two things from this episode I want people to take away. One is buy the Black is Beautiful beers that you can, because they go to a very worthy cause, each and every one of them. But the second thing is, don't do what we're doing. Don't try this at home.
You're the only person that's drunk right now, by the way.
We're professionals. Oh, bullshit. Like the two of you aren't feeling. The three of you aren't feeling.
We're
it.
definitely
We're not finishing the entire can.
we're not as drunk as you are.
I'm not finishing the cans either.
Dan's problem is he didn't eat today as much as the rest of us did. So
I've been eating a lot today. I've been prepping for this.
it's all gone to his head.
You're a rookie, Daniel.
No, my plan was originally to make dinner last night and to have leftovers for today, and then my chicken wasn't thawed out in time, so I had a grilled cheese.
Thawed out.
Thawed.
Not thought out.
Thawed. No, the recipe is well thought out.
Yeah. Also, Jess and I kicked him out of the kitchen so we could make vegan cheeseburgers.
There's nothing wrong with that. The chicken wasn't
I
thawed
totally
out, so it
need to
wasn't-
give you my vegan meatball recipe. You guys would friggin' love them. They're so delicious.
So good.
What was the other thing? So this was a don't try this at home?
Yeah, don't try it at home.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, there's the spicy chicken sandwich from Mad Chef.
Oh, god damn. Yeah, no, I've seen that. I need to fucking get out there.
Hell yeah. All right, so I am cracking open the Springhouse version.
Oh, I like the Springhouse one. That was is that the
Black is
first
Beautiful?
one?
That's the first.
That was the first Black is Beautiful that I had.
That makes sense.
I still have a can, so
remember
I will
getting
open
that
it also.
early on. Springhouse, I think the first brewery of the evening that we've mentioned that has not been on the podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we had someone from Springhouse
we?
on from at
At-
Brewforia.
Yeah, one of the events.
Oh, Brewforia,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Many of the others we've done exclusive
full
episodes.
yeah.
I couldn't remember. I know for a long time Springhouse was like on the radar, and we hadn't had anybody on.
It's got a very chocolatey aroma.
Oh, this is very chocolate forward. Now, I don't know if it's changed because, like you said, this was one of the earliest ones that were procured.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it's super. It's like nice.
No, it's super chocolately.
yeah, it's like bitter hot
Which
chocolate.
is very Springhouse-esque.
You know what? It kind of reminds me of that Yingling and Hershey's chocolate beer.
I never tried that.
It was kind of like this, but it didn't go to support a charity.
Dan had a dismissive way of saying that, which leaves open to interpretation what his actual opinion is. I like it.
I was trying to give this one credit.
I like the dark chocolate.
Actually, you know what? This is it's got the chocolate forward notes, but it's not syrupy.
Yeah, it's not a pastry stout. Like it's not like a candy bar. Like it just has a lot of that chocolate character coming out from the malts. That I really like this one actually.
Yeah. What was the ABV on it?
This one's a 10.
Oh,
yeah, this one's up there.
fuck.
There's very few that aren't 10 or 11.
I know.
9 at the very least. So, are we playing a game?
We should probably play a game, and
All right.
before I hit the music, I want you to explain what we are doing because that will be a point for the music.
So, oh boy, oh Jesus, I know where that's going. So, I didn't write a game for this episode because this is kind of a fast and loose. I didn't know what we were doing. We did the interview with the guy from Idiom and also from McClintock.
Mike and Braden.
Thank you. So I didn't write a game, but because this is episode 200, I thought, let's do something reflective. Because Dan and Steph were like, we should play a game. I was like, all right, well, I don't know if you guys want to play a game or not because it's just us. So anyway, long story short, all of that out of the way, I found on our Google Drive, I couldn't find the earliest Happy Fun Time game ever, but I did find the first ever libation or fabrication that we've ever played. Rich must be taking a shit because I'm getting all these fucking Twitter notifications from him on my phone, and they are just not stopping. Anyway, so this was from what episode was this from? Do I have that up yet? If I go to the drive, yeah. So this is from episode 8.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I don't even remember. Was this the episode? I think this was the episode we had your friend on. Dan.
Oh, yeah, it was the episode with Jared and the
yes.
beginning got corrupted somehow.
Yeah, so this is from episode 8, way back in 2013.
You know, here's the thing about Jared. I was supposed to be in Canada with him this week, and I'm so bummed it didn't happen.
Yeah, that sucks.
Weezer would have been tomorrow.
I know.
So anyway, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're playing the first ever Libation or Fabrication. I'm going to read the intro that I wrote back then. I don't remember it.
Hold on. Episode 8 is when we drank the first ever Woot Stout.
Oh, shit.
Yes, it is.
First Woot Stout.
Yeah,
Nice.
because I remember I thought Jared would really appreciate that. Oh, Jared.
Was that the wait a fucking minute moment?
No.
No, that
came
was
later.
way after that.
That was
Okay.
after FTP.
We didn't even know that person then.
Oh, there we go. That's
the
a
OG
throwback.
music.
That is a throwback. So here we go. Cold read. Dan does these all the time. What time is it, boys and girls? It's happy fun time. That's right. It's time to come on, get happy, and go play, have fun. We return today to a game we've played previously. All right, so I guess this is well, fuck my whole goddamn life. It's one of the first. Thanks, me from the past, making present me look like an asshole.
It's perfect. It's so perfect.
So, so this is a game we've played previously.
Episode 8, and we had already played it before.
Apparently, yeah, right? In which I deviously attempt deception and test my co-host's perception of some dubious contentions. Man, I used to love words and rhymes.
You still do.
Yeah, that's true. With righteous
They're lazy now.
With righteous tenacity, they'll judge my veracity. I hate this so much. A continuation of the beer
Wait,
education.
can we put a beat behind this and make him rap it?
Oh, I don't have any beats.
Well, the next line, I used to say this all the time. I can still say this. A continuation of the beer education of the Beer Busters Nation. It's time to play libation or fabrication.
Until we almost got sued.
No, that was for entertainment.
Oh, that's right. I thought it was beer education.
Yeah, no, this is that I
Oh, we just outgrew beer education.
No, I ripped that line off of Stephen Colbert.
Colbert.
Here's how it works. Anyone who's delved into the world of craft beer will know that there are some strange, humorous, and outright absurd beer names out there. I've scoured the interwebs to find some of the oddest, and I've invented a few myself. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, I in general.
We don't have a choice.
Is to tell the difference. Dan, Steph, and our non-existent guest, Jared. It was Jared. I named him in the intro, so it was Jared. We'll go head to head as I list the names and descriptions of myriad brews, and they try to determine whether they are real libations or which are my own fabrications. Can they root out the truth and tell when I toss out some falsehoods? Let's find out. Jesus Christ.
Okay, so when you go over the answer, or when you tell us the answer, if it is a fabrication, I'm going to search it on Untappd and see if since 2013 it has become
a beer.
real beer. And
That
I
should
feel
be-
like if it did, and anyone that said real and it's now real, I feel like they should get the point.
No, I think this should be a bonus point. I think
Okay,
if it's
give
fake,
them 2 points. I'm
and
okay
I'll
with
say,
that.
okay, if it's fake, you guys have to say, do you think it is now a beer or not? And if you're
Oh,
right about
geez.
that,
No. We can't. No, Dan's too drunk for that. I feel like if we
No,
say
that's fair.
fake, no, if we say real but it was fake in 2013,
you retroactively get the point.
but it's real now, I feel like it should automatically be 2 points.
All right, sure.
I'm just going to go along because I didn't hear a thing either one of you said because I'm focused on how shitty my editing was of the music back then. And I'm trying to find a better edit.
All right. I think you're right, Steph. We can't rely on Dan to be that involved in the game right now.
We got this.
But we are going to begin in time-honored tradition. To my left with Dan.
Oh, fuck him to your left. So that hasn't changed.
Nope. I didn't write that in the intro here, though.
No,
All right, so our
boo.
first beer of the game. Tell me, is it real or fake? Our first beer is called Ode to My Dead Dog Jim. The weird thing is, some of these you're going to be like, I kind of remember hearing that before.
Vaguely, yeah.
But it might be because of this game. It might not be real.
I'm going to go real.
Dan is saying that is a real beer. Dead Dog Jim.
Yeah, I'm going to say real too.
Oh, both of you saying real. You guys are incorrect. It is not
Right.
real. It was
Hold on.
fake in 2013. Not a real beer.
Ode
Never had a dog
to
named Jim.
My dead dog,
Jim.
Jim.
I can't imagine that's a beer now.
Nope, we could not find this.
Oh, it's
beer.
a
still
medley.
fake.
Still fake. All right.
Because when I edited this one, I learned how loops work.
I learned how loops work. All right, moving on to our next beer of the game, and Steph is going to guess first on
What was
this
the
one.
answer? Was it real?
It was fake.
Oh, shit.
It was fake.
Sorry.
It was fake.
I'm way too focused on this.
It was fake 7 years ago, and it's still fake now. That was the determination
Why would
we
you
made.
come up with something like that?
I
That's
don't
why
remember.
I said real, because I'm like, why the fuck would Wayne come up with something like that?
I
It's
don't
so
know.
sad.
All right, moving on. Steph's going to guess first on this one. Our next beer, is it real? Is it fake? This one is called Spleen Cleaver.
Real.
Steph saying that is real, Dan.
I don't know. I want that to be fake. It's still, I don't believe it's real.
Dan is saying that is fake. It is, in fact, real.
God damn it.
It is real. It's by Tommy Knocker Brewery in Colorado.
Yeah, fuck that.
It is an 8.5% Scotch ale that may or may not cleave your spleen.
All right.
I wonder if it's still being
unfuck
made.
them.
Unfuck them.
I stole that from Dan Harmon.
All right,
I
so
really don't know how to spell.
Steph is trying to
UNFUCK.
spleen cleaver.
Side note, my sandwich will be here real soon, and I'm far too excited for this.
Oh boy.
Okay, continuing on.
Moving on to our next beer of the game, and Dan is going to guess first on this one. This beer is called Piston Honda. I remember these blank stares back then, and I'm getting them again today.
Yeah, that never changed. Fake.
Dan is saying that's fake, Steph.
Real.
Steph is saying that is real. It is, in fact, real.
Son of a fuck.
Piston Honda, released in 2009 from Dogfish Head,
Ah, boo.
a brew pub exclusive. Brew with the Japanese hop Sriracha Ace. If you see this beer twitch its eyebrows, you'd better duck. Piston Honda, famously a character from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Jesus. Moving on to our next beer of the game. You guys didn't get it then, and you didn't get it now either. I remember that specifically. I think it was Dan or Jared were like, wait, pissed in Honda? Like P-I-S-S-E-D in Honda?
That sounds like a Jaredism.
No, Piston Honda, video game character. Moving on. Steph is going to guess first on this one. Our next beer is Groucho Man Randy Beverage. Is that real or fake?
Stop it to a Slim Jim.
Fake.
Steph is saying that is fake, Dan.
I don't know, man. I'm also going to say fake. So
both of you
nothing
saying
changes. Nothing changes.
You both are wrong. Ooh.
I should have fucking said real.
I was going to say real for all of them, and then I was like,
This
I
one,
actually think I remember you saying this one, and I might have seen it out in the wild.
it's a German-style Rausch beer.
it's a great name for a Rausch beer.
Yeah, it is. Brewed by Against the Grain Brewery in Louisville, Kentucky.
Had he died by that point?
I think he was still alive in 2013. I'm not sure.
I legit don't remember.
All right, where's our resident fact checker?
We're going to interweb this.
When did Randy Savage die? Dan is looking that up. I'm not going to move on because
This feels like very disrespectful music to play.
Was
doesn't it?
episode 8 recorded before or after we got called out for not fact-checking shit in our episodes?
it was probably-
during.
Yeah.
May 20th, 2011, he died in Seminole, Florida.
Oh shit! So I guess he
Yeah,
had been
so it
dead
was
for a
after.
couple of years. All
It was
right.
before our existence, and you know what? We probably fact-checked it then and thought the same thing.
I'm not
probably
going back
true.
to listen to episode 8 to find out.
Moving on.
Anything before 50 is dead to me.
to our next beer of the game. Steph is guessing first on this one. Our next beer is called Yeastiality.
Real.
Fuck, I remember this question. Fake.
Was
I gotta go fake. I gotta go fake.
Was it a question?
I almost made this pun to somebody the other day.
All right, here we go. This is where our fact-checking, future-proofing of the game comes into play because it was, in 2013, fake.
I feel like it's real now.
I did, however, note at the time that Urban Dictionary defines yeastiality as the act in which an individual makes love with leavened culinary creations, such as cake.
Was it fake back then?
It was. Is it real now?
As it's real now, give this fucking bitch 2 points.
Fucking that
So, what is yeastiality now?
Cake. Oh. Thank you.
course.
There's
That's what I
4 of them on Untapped. 2 of them are homebrews, and 2. Oh wait, that's
Homebrews don't count.
What? No, it's not. There's one that is a legit brewery. Beer Here is the name of the brewery, and they are in a microbrewery in Denmark.
Oh, nice. What's the other one?
No, the other one it came up. It didn't. It wasn't called Yeastiality. It is a 7% farmhouse ale from Beer Here in Denmark.
Nice.
That's pretty fucking cool that it was not a real beer in 2013, and now it is.
A real beer.
And now give me
obviously,
2 points.
Obviously, fans of Beer Busters. They stole the name from us. Wouldn't be the first time. All right, so Steph gets a bonus point because that is now a real beer. Moving on, so who guessed first on that? Was it Steph? I think it was Steph.
I don't remember.
So we're going to go to Dan. You're going to guess first on this one. This came up earlier in the podcast. This one is called This One Goes to 11 Ale.
Yes.
Dan's getting a phone call. I think his food's here.
My food's here.
They should make a beer called This One Goes to 11.
Ah, clever. All right, pause while Dan gets his food. All right. Oh, we're doing a thing. Dan.
Sorry.
We're doing a thing.
Didn't I already answer?
This one goes to 11 Ale. Real or fake?
Fake.
Dan is saying that is fake. Steph, what do you think?
Real.
Steph is saying that is real. It is, in fact, real.
Son of a bitch. I like super. Oh, no!
Dan's getting
Can I have a paper towel?
marinara on his hand. Jesus Christ. This one goes to 11 Ale. It's an Imperial Red Ale brewed by Bell's in Kalamazoo, Michigan to commemorate their 11,000th batch in September of 2012. A limited edition single batch. It was 11%.
Limited edition.
ABV. Are you correcting me or just repeating me?
No, I was caking you.
Okay, moving on to our next beer of the game, and we're going to say Steph guessed first because I don't remember. Our next beer is called Pestilence Pale Ale. Appropriately.
Real.
Steph is saying that is real. Dan, real or
I
fake?
gotta say fake to try to make up any ground, but it's fucking useless.
Yeah, Dan has no points whatsoever.
I
Seriously?
love this game. Best game
Oh,
ever.
shit.
He said fake for everything but the first one.
I
He was
also want
wrong.
to check in Yeastiality just to check it in.
Well, he would have been right on Yeastiality, except that it has since been real. So does he get a point for that or not? Because it was fake then.
I'll take a pity point. I
No,
don't
he
care.
doesn't get
No.
a point. I get all the
No
points.
fucking pussy points in Happy Fun Time.
Don't flip me off.
All right, so what were we talking about? We were talking about Pestilence Pale Ale was fake back in 2013.
Oh, was it? Wait, what was
So
it called?
I did note that Rivertown Pestilence Hibiscus Sour Brown Ale was a real thing.
Pestilence. I don't even know how to spell that. Pestilence what?
Pale Ale.
I mean, there is a beer called Pestilence.
What is it?
Do I get it if it's a pale ale?
Sure.
It's an IPA.
Close enough.
That's an India Pale Ale. Here's
Close
a
enough.
farmhouse ale called Pestilence. Pestilence IPA, Pestilence Red Ale, Pestilence Stout, Pestilence Black IPA, Pestilence Sour, Golden Ale, Sour, IPA. And these are homebrews.
All right. Sure. You get all the points. Dan's going to lose by a lot.
Yes!
I don't care. I've got mozzarella sticks.
We're
right
going
now.
to keep playing. Yeah, Dan's
He
eating mozzarella
doesn't
sticks.
care. He has mozzarella
does
sticks.
not give a shit. He's got a spicy chicken sandwich, too. Oh, Moose looking at the table again. All right, moving on to our penultimate beer of the game, and Dan is back up to guess first on this one. This beer is called Fisted Anus.
Fake.
Dan is saying that's fake, Steph.
Why would you come up with that? But why would they say that's okay to be a beer name? I'll say real.
Steph saying real. Steph is correct.
Are you fucking kidding?
It is an American. It is an American dark wheat ale from Speakeasy Ales and Lagers
Yeah, fuck them.
in San Francisco.
Fuck them.
No,
Fuck,
I've been there. That's a nice place.
Yeah, my
fuck
notes.
that whole city.
My notes say in parentheses, Steph was there and we're tasting a beer of theirs today. So we had a beer from them on the episode we played this game, but it was not Fisted Anus.
No.
Is it lubed up urethra?
Moving on to our final beer of the game. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Steph has 8 points right now.
I don't care.
Dan has none. So we'll let you go last, Dan, for what it's
I'm
for
going
what
to
it's
say
worth.
real. I'm going
I'm
going to keep it straight. Fake, and I'm going to get honey mustard for my fries.
This last beer is worth 10 points. All right. Dan's saying fake. Steph, I guess you're going to guess. It doesn't really matter what you say. This beer is called Blood of the Unicorn.
Real.
Real. It is real. even his preemptive guess, he was wrong. Moo is scared. She's like, what the fuck is going on?
2013 Wayne.
Yep.
Fuck you.
Blood of the Unicorn, brewed by Pipeworks Brewing Company in Chicago, Illinois.
Hey,
is
I've been there too.
8.5% American Amber Ale. So Steph has 9 points. Dan has none.
I'm Instagramming.
I think I have like
myself.
half of one.
What would really be interesting, and we'd have to go back to the episode and listen to it to find out, so we're not going to do that, but to see what the scores in the winner were of the original game when we played this game back then. I'd be curious to know.
Are we doing the thing?
Yeah, I guess we played a game, so now I gotta figure this out. Because after we play a game, what we always do is we express our sincere and undying gratitude to our most generous patrons on a platform that is called Patreon. Can you tell I am vamping till I find the list? So we would like to thank all of these very generous individuals who donate to the show and help us keep going. We will begin at the top of the list, of course, with Dana. Following with Sean Sullivan. PA Brew Review.
Oh, that was the wrong knob.
Topher Simmons.
So buttery.
Poor Man's Brewing Company.
Go back in time.
Mark Badunio.
Social media.
Kathy Obashevsky.
What?
Jill Chivers.
Cheese and bread.
James Lamberg.
I want it in my mouth.
Eric Dixon.
Breaking news.
Jen McDonald.
Delilah.
Brian Mills. Ron McDonald.
One of those ones you would suck on.
And Joe Mansell.
I gotta go with the jizz.
If you want to find out how you can get on this list and all the other behind-the-scenes perks that we give to you, go to patreon.com/beerbusters. Sign up to become a patron for as little as $1 a month. Do it to it. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Say, Yvonne, remember when I said I'd have to send away to NASA to calculate your bar tab?
Oh, yeah. We all had a good laugh, Mo.
The results came back today. You owe me $70 billion.
So I had an idea for a business. What if you could get 5 condoms in the mail and try them on before you use them? Keep the one you want and send the rest back. Well, I pitched it to friends of mine, and they pointed out many, many shortcomings in that plan, which I hadn't thought of. So, bad idea. However, it could work for glasses. Enter Warby Parker. What's Warby Parker? Well, Warby Parker makes buying glasses online easy and risk-free, which people who have eyes that don't work well tell me it can be very annoying otherwise. So Warby Parker will send you 5 glasses for you to try on at home for 5 days to get feedback from your friends, your family, people on the street, people on the internet, what have you. And you can send back what you don't want, risk-free, no charge, no questions asked. And for every pair of glasses that you buy from Warby Parker, they will donate a pair of glasses to someone in need, which is not an idea that I had for my condom pyramid scheme, but it sounds like a very good idea for glasses. Want to find out how you can get in on this deal? How to get your free at-home trial of glasses? Amazing. Go to warbyparkertrial.com/beerbusters. Get a free 5-day trial of 5 frames at warbyparker.com/beerbusters. The end. Now that we've played a game and we've paid the bills, we're going to drink some more Black is Beautiful beer. Moving on to Sly Fox this time around. Their 25th anniversary coming up very shortly. Maybe making an appearance on this very podcast. Stay tuned to find out.
I like this one.
I feel like this one, for some reason, feels a bit more boozy. I mean, it's 10%. It's around the same as all of them, but I don't know if it's because I've had so many so far,
That's probably part of it.
But for some reason, like the alcohol just seems a little more forward in this one. I'm not complaining. I do like it.
It's very smooth.
That it is. It is smooth. It's got a nice head on it too. So, do we have a current count of how many breweries have hopped on board for the Black is Beautiful project? Because it was cracking 1,000 last time we checked in. So I imagine it's only grown since then.
1,130.
Nice. How many countries are we at?
21.
21 countries, and still every state. We already had that covered before. Very cool.
Who in Alaska is doing it?
Somebody in Alaska is doing it. That's actually a very good question. You can look on the website by state, right?
Yeah. Bleeding Heart Brewery.
Nice.
I'm going to guess they're in Anchorage.
Or Juneau.
Palmer, Alaska.
That's not real.
Oh, it's not a real place.
163 Manville.
Really?
I don't know what that means.
Arrested Development, but season 4, so nobody...
Oh.
I watched the entire series. I like that show.
Yeah, I did too. But yeah, the later seasons didn't stick as much in my mind as the earlier.
No, I would agree.
The pre-Netflix seasons.
Yeah. The Fox seasons, as you will.
Yeah, I didn't actually remember what network they were on.
Did you
before.
just Shatner that sentence?
The Fox season.
Kind of.
If you will. Yeah, like surround. What does he say? They held at spear point. What am I, Kirk? What is this? The 2260s. That was the best.
No. The best was the most important man in Starfleet.
Miles O'Brien.
I couldn't fucking believe that.
Crucially, still Chief Miles O'Brien.
Yeah.
Never rose above Chief. That's a good show. I really like that show.
I let out the most guttural laugh of my life when they did that.
What, Miles O'Brien? Yeah, that was pretty good. Did you notice he was singing the TNG theme song on the Turbo Lift?
You know, there's a YouTube channel I subscribe to that mentioned that, and I got to go back and watch it.
Yeah, no, he was like humming it to himself when the captain walked in.
Well, we're going to hold that thought for a second because it's not the TNG theme.
No?
It's the Star Trek The Motion Picture theme.
Oh, really? Is that where it originated?
Yep.
Interesting. I did not know that. I may have heard that before. It sounds like vaguely familiar.
Steph is so bored.
Yeah, sorry. I think it's the best Star Trek theme, though.
I don't know, man. Enterprise is just...
No, Enterprise is cheesy.
It's been a long road, man.
It's cheesy.
Getting from there to here. Fuck that. I would argue more people will know the TNG one, but more people recognize the original series.
Yeah, but the TNG
Well, let
one's
someone
better.
that doesn't give a fuck about Star Trek draw that conclusion.
Yeah,
play
why don't
them
we play
for
them?
me.
I would argue that Deep Space Nine had the best score in
I don't
the
know which is
episodes.
which, so just play them, and I'll tell you which one I recognize.
All right.
This makes me so happy.
But is there gonna be narration?
Yeah.
She's not gonna know who's who. Never mind. I don't know why I was worried about that. Doesn't this have a theremin in it?
Wait for it.
There it is.
There it is. Theremin, it is. Maybe it doesn't have the narration. It would have started by now.
Yeah, I would think so.
By the way, I mean, I can't say it because...
We'll give it away.
Right.
Will it, though?
Maybe. Yes. All right, so there's that versus... Where's the fucking search, John?
Where's the fucking search, John?
Nope, we're not recording.
I should have consumed more alcohol because I really wish I was drunk right now.
This doesn't count because this is not how it actually goes
fine.
on the show.
Yeah, I hit a link. I'm sorry
It's a
that I hit the
different-
wrong link. Fine.
Different arrangement. Why don't you just play the thing from the actual TV
Because there's
show?
narration. I was trying to be as impartial as possible.
All right, then play an orchestra.
I'm not going to know.
Good.
That's pretty good. All right.
I'm getting chills, man.
See, I actually know this one because I performed this song.
Did you really?
Goddamn
I
right you did.
performed this. I don't know. The first one you played, I've never heard before. But this I've actually performed. So I'm going to say this one to whatever the fucking question was.
This is the TNG one.
It still starts as an original series one, though. It was the original. It's the motion picture.
That doesn't matter. It's a better song.
That's why they took it to TNG.
Didn't John Williams compose this?
I don't know.
He did Star Wars.
He didn't do both?
I actually don't know.
I mean,
who
he
composed
is the greatest composer of our time.
Although a couple of years ago, I went and I saw the Star Trek 50 live thing, and they did like clips of episodes, and they had a live orchestra playing the score, and it was fucking awesome.
So we're clear the episode would have started by now.
I don't care about that. I just was trying to see which one I recognized.
Yeah.
So you recognize the motion picture theme.
The TNG theme.
Yes.
Most sane
I
people
did not
would call
recognize the other one. But I have also performed that one, so that's why I recognized it, not because I've seen this bullshit.
Well, we have, I think, one last beer that we're going to drink on the episode proper here because we're running very long, even for us. So this last one is one that hails from a little bit farther afield. One that when Steph went to get the goodies from McClintock and Idiom, took a little detour to a place called... Oh, no. I'm wrong. This is from Gettysburg.
Yeah, but I did stop there on the way to Frederick, so you are correct in what you were saying.
I thought this was the other one from Frederick. Anyway, this is from Fourscore Brewing Company, which is appropriately in Gettysburg. And this one is actually made with coffee. It's made from coffee from a place called Vagrant Coffee. And then I don't know what it also has another logo on it, this Burnish beer. So I'm not sure how that works into the equation.
They collaborated with Burnish. They're out of Salisbury, Maryland. They collaborated with them, and Vagrant is out of Baltimore, so they collaborated to make this beer.
Oh, okay. So sort of a trifecta. 2 breweries, 1 coffee place.
Oh, it's very coffee heavy.
Yeah, I'm excited to have one.
God.
I'm surprised that this is the first one we've cracked open that has fucking coffee in it, because this is the perfect beer that would go well with coffee.
Guys, this was fun. I mean,
definitely was.
We have there's more cans unopened than opened, and maybe we'll drink 1 or 2 more in last call, but I want to remember tonight and tomorrow for this matter.
Same here.
Yeah, these are this is a lot of beer to get through. Obviously, most of them fairly high in alcohol. All of them fairly high in alcohol. The few that we've come across that were lower in alcohol, we've already had on the show. We didn't have them tonight.
Yeah, that 5% lager.
Yeah.
We need more of those people.
Even the Attic Brewing Oatmeal Stout, it was only like 6.5.
Yeah,
nice.
that was low too.
But very cool. Very cool to see the different variations. Some people adding some crazy shit to it. Some people keeping it pretty close to the original recipe and everything in between, which is nice. Mm-hmm. Really cool to see a lot of the ones that were very close to the original recipe without a lot of adjuncts or anything still had a lot of variety in flavor, which was pretty cool to see.
And I tended to enjoy the ones that were more to style. Yeah. Which also is credit to Weathered Souls for the really strong recipe that they put out there. But it's been really fun seeing what other people do and how they interpret the style. And I respect those that even said, you know what, we're not even doing an Imperial Stout. We're doing a Dark Pilsner, or we're doing a cornbread-inspired brown lager. And I think it's really neat to see different takes on the style. And I will continue to collect them and enjoy them as they are released.
Same. As a beer nerd, it's real exciting because this is a project that unifies a lot of breweries. And yes, there's the recipe that they suggest brewing off of. You know, you can do whatever you want with it. But as a human, it's more exciting because there's a bunch of charities that are benefiting from this. And it's furthering a very necessary conversation and bringing to light a topic that definitely could use more awareness.
Yeah, and a really cool collaboration project in its sort of fuzzy edges, and that you don't have to follow. I mean, you don't really have to follow. If you did the Resilience IPA when Sierra Nevada did that and you made it different, I don't think anybody would care. But this was a project where they specifically said, you don't have to do this recipe. You can take it and play with it. And really cool. And it reminds me of There's a T-shirt actually that First Sip Brew Box, and we had on the we did a feed drop of there when he did a live stream when the protests first started happening, and also a Daily Sip episode that he did with the beard black man. But he has a T-shirt, and I just remember this because I was talking about T-shirts designs with my girlfriend the other day, and she brought up how much she liked this design, and it was a picture of like different colors of beer. And I mean, I'm going to get this wrong. I don't remember the exact wording on the T-shirt, but it's basically showing a bunch of different colors of beer and talking about like how like unity and we're all different and it's okay and like diversity makes things beautiful. So, really cool to see. I mean, a lot of these are like, you know, color-wise super dark beers, but being able to inject that diversity and being able to make that equating the crazy amounts of styles of beer that are out there to drink and the crazy different styles of people that are out there to drink them, which is something to celebrate. That's all I have to say
about that.
About that.
I'm glad we were able to do this. I'm glad we were able to do this as our 200th episode. It feels good to hit that milestone, but it feels even better knowing that we're helping bring awareness to something.
And I also want to say, as much as everything sucks right now, I'm glad that the universe gave us an excuse to not plan a big 200th episode.
Us?
Well, or Steph.
Right, Steph, yeah.
But even like just to do it, like to be low key about it, you know? I'm glad we were low key about it.
Yeah. And it goes without saying, but yet I'm going to say it again. Go find the Black is Beautiful beers or liquors that are around you. Blackisbeautiful.beer is where you can find out all of the information that you may need to know. But chances are there's a brewery around the corner from you that is making and selling this beer, and the money will go to a damn good cause. And I don't think there's a better feeling as a beer drinker, knowing that you're going to get that warm, fuzzy feeling inside physically from the beer, but you're going to get the warm fuzzies mentally from supporting a good cause. But I think that does bring us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters. Thank you so much for listening. You know where to find us. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, beerbusterspodcast.com, patreon.com/beerbusters. But hopefully you can leave a rating or review, whatever app or platform you are listening to this on. Most importantly, though, go get yourself a Black is Beautiful beer or whiskey, wherever you may find it, and support a damn good cause and find ways to be vocal and cognizant of what's going on. But I am Dan Baker. I am joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and of course the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
No squids were harmed in making this episode, and you, my friend, we'll see you next time.
200. We made it. As you finish swallowing it,